So good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the August 16th, August 26th, 2025 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Kent if he would come forward and give us the invocation.
It's August something. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for these people who have given of their time and their talents to lead us. Lord, we just ask that you would guide their conversation, guide the conversation of all assembled today. Grant them wisdom in their proceedings and help them to serve and protect us, the citizens that you have appointed them over. And Lord, we just ask that you would be with us all in the days ahead. We just ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, Pastor Kent. Pastor Kent comes to us today from the First Lutheran Church in Huntingtown. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you. Great to be here. It's been a while.
It has been a little while. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda as presented?
If none,
I don't believe so. I move that we approve and adopt the agenda submitted.
second.
I motion and second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have a couple of public service announcements today, as soon as I find the sheet. First, school starts today, so we want to remind everybody while you're out driving around, beware of children and school buses stopping. I know it's been a few months and just got to get back into routine, but we want all our kids to have a very successful and great year at school and a safe school year. The Department of Planning and Zoning invites residents to participate in the public adoption process for updates to the rules and regulations governing the Calvert County Agricultural Land Preservation Program. That meeting is going to be this Thursday, August 28th at the Harriet Brown Community Center. The doors will open at 6. The meeting starts at 7 p.m. The meeting will present some proposed changes, takes questions, and receive comments from the public. So we ask any of you that have interest in land preservation to please attend, or you can send in comments. You can attend by Zoom or by calling 301-715-8592. The meeting ID is 867-7696-4391. So please, we ask that you participate. And Labor Day is this coming Monday. I hope that all of you take a moment during this weekend to thank all the contributions of labor to this country. And the courthouse will be closed on Monday. We won't be meeting on Tuesday, so please make sure you make note of that. We want to wish everyone a very safe and happy Labor Day weekend. And that will bring us to the animal shelter of the week. We have little animals today.
Oh my goodness.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So today I brought with me on my left, this is Sal. On the right, this is Todd. It's perfect.
Sal.
Any of those?
Oh, he's the same color as your dog.
We have real pigs. We don't have guinea pigs.
Well, you know.
Did you say
They're
Sal?
pretty cool. Huh?
Sal?
Sal.
He's
Yep.
Italian?
Maybe.
He could be, yeah. If that does it, if that's a selling point, yes.
Yeah.
He absolutely
yeah.
is.
We can make him Italian.
He speaks Italian.
So they have been with us for about 2 weeks. They're roughly 4 years old, so they're up there in age for a guinea pig. They love each other. They're always snuggled up and bonded. They would love to go together. If not, it's okay. They would do okay with others. But guinea pigs, they are typically animals that should go in pairs. Every once in a while you get one that's like, I'd rather be by myself. But they're better with others. They should always have a unlimited supply of hay. And then, their normal greens and stuff are good for them too. I'd say normally every day they should have some sort of vegetables, maybe a little bit of fruit. I think fruit is more so a treat versus like an actual food. It's more, they should have more veggies though. But yeah, they've been with us for about 2 weeks. They are with our Clear the Shelters for the month of August. It is free adoption. And then they will be, when is the end of August? I'm trying to think. Sunday. So they will actually be free for adoption through
No,
our
they'll
next
be free
meeting.
for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yep. So our next meeting, which is, so they will exceed the Clear the Shelters. So anybody looking for a guinea pig? We have guinea pigs, rabbits, dogs, cats. We still have a bunch of kittens, which is not normal. We usually get rid of those pretty quickly, but yeah, come on down. If you can't adopt, come foster, just walk through. Donations are always a big help too. We hope to towels, blankets, food, treats, toys, all the things. So,
And
yeah.
how's Clear the Shelter going?
We're doing pretty well. I mean, we do get them in almost as fast as they leave, but you know, I think we're doing pretty good considering. So, but yeah. So come on down, check out
Yep.
our website, and we will see you back in about 2 weeks.
They're
with
free for
something
2
else.
weeks.
All right.
How much does it cost to adopt a guinea pig?
A guinea pig or 10?
No, normally $10. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll save you $20
Yeah.
in the next 2 weeks.
Yep, absolutely.
Good deal.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
guys.
coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is appointments. Miss Emily.
Good morning, Commissioners. Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist, here with 5 rounds of appointments today. First board is the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board. Staff recommends that you appoint Nathan Novotny as an alternative member for the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board, and following this action, no vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Nathan Novotny as an alternate member of the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Nate Novotny as the alternate member to the Ag Preservation Board. Or is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Second is for the Commission on Aging. Staff recommends that you reappoint Christine Flattery, Terry Long, Ann Weems, and Harriet Yates, and appoint Julia Hines Williams to the Commission on Aging. Following these appointments, 4 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Christine Flotney, Terry Long, Ann Weems, and Harriet Yoff, and appoint Julia Hines Williams to the Commission on Aging.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Third is for the Calvert County Commission for Women. Staff recommends that you appoint Oksana Parsons and Sarah Shields to the Commission for Women. Following this action, 3 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Oksana Parsons and Sarah Shields to the Calvert County Commission for Women.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Fourth is for the Calvert County Marine Museum Board of Governors. Staff recommends that you appoint James Carr to the Board of Governors, and following this action, 2 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint James Carr to the Calvert County Marine Museum Board of Governors.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Final appointment is for the Calvert County Environmental Commission. Staff recommends that you reappoint Michael Rooney to the Environmental Commission, and following this appointment, 3 vacancies would remain.
Mr. President, I move that we reappoint Michael Rooney to the Calvert County Environmental Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you listen to this, you see we do have vacancies. We have lots of vacancies on boards and commissions. You can go to the county website. It will show you where those vacancies are. If you have a talent or an interest, please apply.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Ms. Emily.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is consent. We have two items under consent today. Item 1, Department of Parks and Recreation, fiscal year 2025, Calvert County Youth Recreational Opportunities Fund Annual Report. Item 2, Department of Public Safety, approval of a reoccurring lease agreement contract for Stryker Life Pack cardiac monitors. Are there any objections to those items under consent today?
None.
Have none?
Have none. I move that we adopt and approve the consent agenda items.
Second?
My motion is second that we adopt those items under consent today. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say yes. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is new business. Department of Budget and Finance, approval request for fiscal year 2025 year-end budget amendment for Calvert County Public Schools. County Administrator, Mr. Johnson.
It's not there. Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Turner, County Administrator.
Good morning. My name is Scott Johnston. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Calvert County Public Schools.
I will read the memo. Background. The Calvert County Board of Education is requesting approval from the Board of County Commissioners for the fiscal year 2025 year-end budget amendment for Calvert County Public Schools. The amendment reflects adjustments in revenue and expenditures accounts to ensure alignment with actual year-end financial activity. The requested changes are necessary to reconcile budgeted amounts with actual expenditures and revenues. Adjustments across categories are based on operational needs. The supporting documentation includes a summary of proposed changes by fund, rationale for adjustments across budget categories, and detailed line item changes. The Board of Education approved these amendments on June 30th, 2025. Approval of this amendment will not increase the overall approved FY25 operating budget for Calvert County Public Schools. It authorizes reallocations within existing funds and categories. Our Department of Finance and Budget requests that the Board of County Commissioners review and, if appropriate, approve the FY25 year-end budget amendment for Calvert County Public Schools, including budget transfers for the unrestricted fund, the restricted fund, the food service fund, and the school construction fund. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Johnson for any further comments.
I'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
So can you highlight those transfers for us, please?
Sure. Let's start with the revenues. On the local revenue side, most of this increase is due to strong interest earnings, higher interest earnings than anticipated when the budget was adopted, and that's due largely to the district's continued active investment of those funds in an interest-bearing account, and also due to sustained high interest rates over the past year that were expected to decline earlier. On the state side, the reduction is actually for underspending of the, and consequently under-receiving of state funds for workforce development funds. We received carryover funds in FY25, and we didn't spend all of the funds for FY25, so we won't be able to recognize all that revenue. The portion that we did not spend and will not be able to recognize as revenue will spend in FY26 instead. And then the relatively small decrease in federal revenue is due to reduced expenditures for our NJROTC programs. Moving to the expenditure side, I'll highlight some of the larger changes. One of the biggest reductions here would be the reduction in category 203, instructional salaries and wages. This was due to the fact that the salaries came in lower than anticipated because of the uncertainty on the impact of the blueprint, specifically the new career ladder that was introduced for FY25. And when the budget was adopted, we were uncertain how many teachers would elect to participate on that or choose to be on the career ladder. And another significant reduction is the ESSER funds in category 205. The district used ESSER funds, the COVID funds, to purchase what we call future-ready tech devices. And so that relieved the general fund of, as you can see here, over $700,000. And then on the fixed charges, significant reduction there. Health insurance and retirement costs came in below budget. So overall, the expenditure budget reduction proposed is $6.725 million, and that represents approximately a 2.4% reduction in expenditure budget.
So just for clarification, when you talked about category 203 and 205, does that monies have to stay in them categories, or does that transfer to fund balance, or what happens to that monies?
We anticipate that this would include a reduced use of fund balance for FY25. So originally, the budget included the use of $25 million of fund balance in FY25. And with these changes, with the revenue increases and with the expenditure decreases, that would provide an $8 million reduction in the use of fund balance. So instead of using $25 million, this would use $17 million of fund
Okay.
balance.
Have the ESSER funds been completely exhausted now?
I believe so, but I'd be happy to verify that.
And what was the number on the ESSER funds from this year, Scott? Don't mind me asking.
I'd be happy to check. I don't have that number with me, but
I know it's
Go ahead and check.
but I didn't
No,
see the
no,
total.
for FY25 and 26, I'd be happy to provide. I'm sure for FY26 it'd be zero, but I'll check for FY25.
So if they're exhausted, it's right at 2 million.
I'd prefer to double check rather than give you.
Okay, so speaking that it is up 2 million, what are we gonna do in next year's budget to compensate for that?
Well, in FY26, the budget includes the use of funds in the unrestricted fund for the future-ready devices.
Okay, so it's already been changed categories. Okay, all right, thanks.
And how much of the unrestricted funds were used, or are we using?
In FY26, the budget includes, I believe it's 11.25 million in FY26.
Okay, thank you.
That's our early estimate, and we'll update that as the year progresses.
Okay.
So last year you used 20 million of fund balance.
Last, in FY25, we budgeted the use of $25 million, and with the proposed budget amendment, that would decline to $17 million. We are still finalizing the closeout of FY25, though.
So just for clarification, I thought we just said 25 million? And
That
brought
was-
it back to 17?
Yes.
Okay.
And most of the instructional savings were unfilled positions.
The instructional savings were due to a number of factors. One is because of the uncertainty in the career ladder, how many teachers would opt to be in the career ladder for FY25, and which provides higher compensation than the traditional salary scale. And also we have some what's called leave without pay, and that would be for employees who have used up all their leave time. And so this basically amount to days that they receive no pay, so that would reduce that salary cost accordingly. And we also had lower sub costs than budgeted as well.
And in 26, the 25 million from the state was included in that budget. And you have 11 million out of fund balance to balance that budget.
Correct.
And the career ladder, is that something that's going to continue on, that reduction, or was that just a timing issue of when that's going to get implemented?
Well, we have had more teachers, we have more teachers on the career ladder in FY26 than we had in 25. So we anticipate that the salary costs will continue increasing.
It's just a timing issue.
And it's a new concept, a very new concept for the District and other school districts.
And the workforce money, was that Blueprint workforce money?
Yes,
That the state was supposed to provide and they didn't?
it's built into the foundation, but it's identified as workforce development funds, so it's just recharacterized.
So is that a function of our system didn't need it, or they just didn't provide it?
We receive approximately $950,000 in workforce development funds. So we are receiving an allocation, and we received carryover amount in FY '25. And we didn't spend all the funds in FY '25, so we'll have carryover again in FY '26. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Well, I'm only trying to figure out, I mean, the state was supposed to provide some funding for Blueprint requirements, and so far they've provided very little. I'm just trying to establish, have they even reduced what they were gonna provide, which was barely anything?
I wouldn't say they reduced it, but in my view, they've recharacterized a fair amount of the funds.
It's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Are you fully staffed for the 25-26 school year?
We still have a number of vacancies, and our HR staff is working diligently to fill those positions.
Okay.
Psychologist, that was always an issue, concern, an issue with fulfilling those positions. That's still true?
That, and I believe speech therapists are also hard to fill positions.
And the Blueprint requires that you have to have additional staff positions so teachers have time for scheduling and,
I believe that's been delayed. The original requirement was that the teachers had no more than, I believe, 60% of their time spent teaching, and I believe that requirement has been delayed by some years.
but we don't have enough staff to do that if we had to implement it today, do we?
I believe we would have to hire additional staff too.
Do you have any idea how many additional staff that would take?
No, but I'd be happy to check with my HR colleague and get an estimate for you.
Just be helpful for us as we talk about impacts to Blueprint on us when we're having discussions with the state about budget and
Sure.
challenges that we still have. Because is that the last component of Blueprint that we haven't implemented?
I believe that's one of the largest remaining ones, but there may still be a few other ones. I'd be happy to double check to see what other ones.
Because the
Still.
career ladder, I think that's in place, right?
Yes,
Yes.
So,
What about preschool? Is that in place?
that is, and I believe that I believe that's in place. If not, I believe it is in place for FY '26, or the '26 school year.
And what about school construction? Was that just, what are we dealing with here on the school construction side fund? Is that all categories or just northern, middle, or what are we talking about here?
This is for all the projects that are in the
All the
capital
projects.
improvement plan.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions?
I have none.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah,
Motion?
I got a
Yeah.
motion. I move that we approve the FY 2025 year-end budget amendment for Calvert County Public Schools, including budget transfers for the unrestricted fund, the restricted fund, the food service fund, and the school construction fund, all as requested.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to old business. Item 1 under old business, Department of Parks and Recreation, Howland Point Park Master Plan update. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Branham, Director of Parks and Recreation. And I'm Stephanie Sperling. I'm the park planner.
Good morning.
Okay, I'll read the memo. So, background. Halloween Point Park, located at 4755 Halloween Point Road, Prince Frederick, Maryland, is an 81-acre park in Calvert County featuring athletic fields, walking paths, a playground, a basketball court, tennis courts, and pickleball courts. There's also a pavilion available for rental by the community. The most recent master plan was developed in 1998, and an update is needed to guide park improvements and growth over the next 15 to 20 years. Discussion. In fall 2023, the Department of Parks and Recreation began updating the Halloween Point Park Master Plan, gathering public input, and working with Murphy and Dittenhofer architects. A draft was completed in September of 2024, proposing improvements such as paved and natural trails, synthetic turf fields, upgraded ball fields, better signage, and a new skate park. Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners work sessions were held in October 24, and the plan was deemed consistent with the county comprehensive plan. On February 27, 2025, the Planning Commission directed staff to circulate the draft and schedule a public hearing. The plan was sent to neighboring jurisdictions and county staff, and feedback was received from 4 state agencies, 2 county commissions, and 4 community members. On May 21, 2025, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to close the record and recommended adoption by the BOCC, who held a hearing on July 22, 2025. No comments were received, and the public record remained open for 10 days following that hearing. Fiscal impact. Funds to update the HPP Halloween Point Park Master Plan were previously procured, and cost estimates for all proposed upgrades and additions are provided in the document. And our conclusion recommendation is that the staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the proposed Halloween Point Park Master Plan update and close the record.
Questions? So didn't we made some amendments to the Holland Point master plan when we put the pickleball courts in, didn't we, a couple of years ago?
They were included. The pickleball courts were being built as the master plan update was being written. So they're included in there as existing amenities, I think.
And these new amenities that are in this plan are scheduled to happen over the next 15 years?
They're all proposed. This
Pending
is based on, exactly. It was all based on what folks said they wanted. We had over 2,000 people who responded to a survey. And, so it was based on that feedback that we put all these proposed upgrades in there. But highest on the list were walking paths and synthetic turf fields, which are controversial, but it's something that, as the years go on, it's in the CIP of the budget for, I think we're at 30, I think when we have it in there. It'll be something that we continue to talk about and weigh.
And that's football and baseball? Synthetic?
Yes, that's right. Yep, one of our multi-purpose fields, which would be football, soccer, and then a baseball field as well.
And the football fields, I'm trying to remember, they're like $2 million depending on site work?
At current prices, when we started the process, they were slightly lower, but obviously they've gone up quite a bit. I think that our last estimates, I think Commissioner Cox pretty well versed, but I think they were between a little north of 2 currently, if it's a standard footprint.
And what's a baseball field to convert to synthetic?
It was around the same amount, I believe.
Right.
Really?
And we're looking not only to do synthetic hybrids, we'll have natural as well as synthetic for both types of fields, but on the infields, there's a plan to add Dura Edge, which we've done at some of our parks. It makes them drain better and they're more playable. It's a much better infield surface as well. While it's not synthetic, it is natural, but it's a better product than we currently have on certain fields as well.
And is there a physical forecast for the cost of these amenities? We just
To
don't do
execute
that?
the master plan?
Yeah.
And when we do these plans, they add a dollar amount, but by the time they come to fruition or execution, obviously they cost more because we're talking towards the end of the current 6-year plan, assuming it doesn't get pushed out. So to put an actual price tag on it currently. But this does give us a plan to execute moving forward. So for the lack of a better description, it's designed and shelved until we get to that point with the funding. But we can properly address the needs and wants of the residents and guests of the park system.
All cost estimates are also provided at the end of the master plan. Current cost estimates are there for us to continually refer back to.
So the walking trails you can talk about on the survey, are they out of blacktop or what kind of material are they made out of?
Asphalt?
Asphalt.
Yeah, so it would sort of encircle the park, and in areas that are farther away from the roads, we'd put in lighting as well. So, ADA accessible, for two folks to be able to pass each other. And then also natural surface as well, natural surface trails in one part of the park that's undeveloped.
They serve two purposes in that ADA accessibility to the fields themselves as well. So not only for walking, for recreation and exercise purposes, but it also allows some of our residents that have mobility issues to get to each field as well.
Thank you.
And they rank the highest
Yeah,
in the process.
yeah, that's what folks really wanted.
So
Because people, walk all around the park as it is now, but they're sort of confined to the side of the roads currently.
Is there a cost estimate for those?
There was, and I don't know what that was offhand.
I imagine a lot of that's to get grandparents to games as well. I mean, it's not just for the use
We,
of.
we can certainly pull it from the plan. It is itemized as to what we can do and for how much. We also have an account for addressing some of our pathways in our parks as well. So while this is in the master plan, as we can address certain things, we do that. So it's working towards meeting the criteria of the update to this master plan. So Stephanie's currently working on pathways, or has in other parks to include Halloween. I'm not sure what we have.
Well, currently,
In the account.
we've applied for a grant to improve the asphalt paths that are there currently, that go through the baseball fields. It's a RTP, Recreation Trail and Pathways grant. It's through the state. So we'll find out next month if we get that. We also have money in program open space that we're going to apply to try to at least begin to improve what we have currently, and then see if we can, put more money in the CIP fund and the Pathways fund to build the extra ones.
So is there ADA funding available for those pathways?
So the grant that Stephanie just mentioned, but we will certainly work with our volunteer and grant coordinator, as well as we have 2 certified therapeutic recreation specialists who have the pulse of ADA specifically for our department, so we can look for other avenues, and we constantly do. So that was the point to mentioning this, is while we have the master plan that we're working towards through the CIP, as we have funding to address the issues or the current, if we itemize each thing, we'll address those things to get to the end result. So we do have one grant that we're currently researching, but we look at all types of grants, Land and Water Conservation Fund that we use quite a bit, Parks and Recreation, Program Open Space, obviously Stephanie mentioned, but we look far and wide to try and find the funding to develop these places all the time. We meet consistently, we do quarterly updates on our grant funding, and we have brainstorming sessions. We try to find the money anywhere and everywhere that we can.
But there is an ADA plan for Holland Point Park, right?
There's an ADA plan for all of our parks.
The ADA transition plan, Parks and Recreation was included in that for the county, so absolutely, yes, sir.
And that's not walking paths. There's 2 different things, right?
Oh, that would be a part of it. They addressed
You're going to
everything.
incorporate it. The walking paths would be incorporated with the ADA compliance for some of the ball fields?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything that the consultant and Tom Jones, and actually Joy Weir, who's our lead in therapeutic recreation, she was a part of that committee, and she did every facility, indoor and outdoor, for Parks and Recreation with that team to address all issues that need to be rectified or remedied in the future.
I think it's fields 6 and 7 are quite a challenge for handicap accessible.
Yes, sir. We hear that quite a bit at Halloween. In particular, Halloween we have the most fields of any park anyhow. But we do know that if you have a mobility issue, it is difficult to get to some of those far-reaching fields. So hence the reason we would love to see it addressed.
Yeah, they're the 2 on the south side that border the Hall property.
Which I think is also why folks said that that's what they wanted as well, because they experienced that.
The popularity of synthetic fields is not waning at all, is it?
There's 2 camps. Some
Okay.
want them, desire them. We understand the playability, and then there are others who talk about potential injury issues and heat, especially here in the Mid-Atlantic. They do have a different infill material to bring that heat down some. It is hot, But they also have water cannons that can be added to soak the fields to bring them down. So it depends on which side you are. And what we've seen is prominently when it's on, like social media is posting the master plan. If you're getting the synthetic field and you want it, you kind of go silent. So the folks against it comment more. And then when you say we're not adding synthetic, those who want synthetic for tournament fields then tend to post more frequently. So it just depends on which side you stand on that debate. But I think Calvert's being responsible in that we're looking to offer a hybrid. We're trying to do both types of fields.
How do insurance companies look at that?
You know, it's a good question. I'm not certain, and I could certainly work with the risk management office to see what legit local government insurance trust, how they weigh in on it. I will tell you that we don't cancel. So from playability purposes, that's why a lot of the organizations would like to see synthetic fields. But I think, and Stephanie will correct me if I'm wrong, we may be the only county in the state that does not currently have a public synthetic field.
Certainly in the region,
Right.
yeah. So I think folks just go to other jurisdictions and their kids play on these turf fields, these synthetic turf fields, and they just ask, why don't we have that here? And it's a, legitimate question. And I will say, one other issue is environmental concerns, which some synthetic turf companies are trying to mitigate by doing different infills, so natural infills, instead of it's effectively like rubber tires that the grass is on top of. So, like I said, over the next 6 years, as we weigh this, hopefully, this will be something we consider for sure. And I imagine that the technology will continue to progress.
The walking paths, if we were to get a few grants that would really help out, as projects go, are walking paths really, really expensive, or is it something that we could put on our radar a little bit sooner because of the cost?
They're quite expensive.
Are they?
And when it's because you also get into stormwater management,
Okay.
if you're, paving up,
And
you
then
have so
ADA
much impervious surface, right? And then if you're doing lighting as well, then you have to be, getting the electricity to far corners of the park and that sort of thing. But it's certainly a priority for us.
Okay. Ward Farm Park, every time I go past there, without fail, I almost always see people walking. I know it's a great addition to District 3 for sure.
And we do hope to, you all just approved the CCYROF funding. We do hope to expand some of those paved trails to go around Field 3, which is that lower field. Because, for folks, speaking of mobility issues, for some folks that need to get to the back corner of that park, it can be really difficult. So, and like you said, it's such a popular amenity. So to be able to expand that, I think would just be, really welcomed.
Okay.
I think stormwater is a factor over 5,000 square foot. So we're talking about enough paved trail that it would be an impact.
Okay.
And there's really nothing pervious that meets ADA guidelines, right?
So we're working at Bisco Gray right now to put in an ADA accessible trail that will take you up to the George Rice House. We have a grant to do that. And Karen Molinas, our Natural Resources Division Chief, has looked into this. And the National Park Service, they have different types of surfacing that are acceptable, just so long as you don't sink into them effectively in a natural resources park. So it doesn't have to be asphalt, but at a place like Howling Point, that would be the preferred alternative, especially for, if we're going to be putting in the entire system, I think.
It's not relevant to our trails, but we even use other apparatus. We have something called a mobility mat that we roll out at the beaches. So it actually makes the sand navigable by somebody with mobility issues. You've probably seen it at Breezy if you've been out there and not even known what it was. It almost looks like we rolled out a red carpet for someone extending out the beach. But if you stand on it, you don't sink. A wheelchair or anyone with a walker or just walking, it makes it solid. So we even look for things like that to mitigate some of the hazards to somebody, again, with mobility issues.
And can water filtrate through those?
Yes, sir. If you look at it, it almost looks like
A mat.
a throw rug, and it's
Doormat.
porous. But if you step on it, you don't move.
Because I guess the issue is where you have impervious and slopes, water runs down the walk. And
That's right. And even with some of these other surfacing, I mean, they still, I think there's some kind of ranking system in terms of impervious surfaces. So I think you still need to consider stormwater. And I mean, from a just environmental perspective, it's just best practice.
Ready for the motion?
If there's no more questions,
Mr. President, I move that we approve and adopt the ordinance enacting the Halloween Point Park Master Plan update as submitted.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? What was the timeline again for this plan? 15 years?
15 to
It's
20.
15 to 20 years,
15,
yeah.
You'd update again?
Yeah, well, assuming I'm still working here.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't retired yet.
We hope.
Oh, do I? Let me do the math. Maybe not.
I won't be. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next item on the agenda is presentation. The first one is Department of Community Resources, Commission for Veterans and Military Families, annual update. Dr. Temple, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dr. Brandon Temple. I am the Chairman of the Commission for Veterans and Military Families.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ed Sullivan, Division Chief of the Office on Aging and ex officio member of the Commission for Veterans and Military Families.
The purpose of this is to give you an update on our fourth year. So pretty cut and dry there. We have to get a new picture. We've had some turnover since last year. We got 4 new members that replaced some members who have had to go outgoing. Up front there's Jeff King, who I'll call out, who was a plank owner, and he had to resign as of May this year. So we do have some new members, though, and they're coming in with a fresh look, and a lot of them are very enthusiastic to get started and already doing great work with the commission in a very short time. And we have our ex officio members. That hasn't changed. Still got Ed Sullivan with us, so we're lucky to have him for sure. You know what I mean? For our purpose, we did update our vision and mission statement, and it was just tweaked a little bit because, as you remember, last year we changed the name from Veterans to Veterans and Military Families to more align with what we are doing and to align with what the state had already done at the state level. So we've updated our vision mission statement. You can see there's an inclusion of military families in both of those, so we are aligning those with our new name and our new mission. A lot of things happened at the state this year as far as legislation goes. The Modernization of Military Laws Act essentially just aligns terms. They use different terms in state law than they use in federal law, and it causes confusion amongst veterans and military and the administrators who have to carry out these programs. So they did some of that, including recognizing the uniformed services. A lot of people don't know that the uniformed services include the armed forces and like NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and our Public Health Service Corps. The armed forces are the 6 branches of the military, but the uniformed services are all 8 combined. The Family Served Act allows hiring preferences and certain conditions for military spouses. The Time to Serve Act increases some leave time for state employees who also serve in the National Guard. And the Veteran-Owned Small Business Reserve is a program that allows some hiring preference, contracting preference in state projects for veteran-owned businesses, as long as the veteran-owned business is over 51% veteran-owned. And we have a new secretary for military and veterans, military families, Ed Rothstein, as the prior secretary, Mr. Anthony Woods, went back to the private sector. He's only been on a couple months now, so I haven't had to meet him personally or got to meet him personally or talk to him, but from what I hear from the folks that I do know work around, it's looking good. We still participate in all these different state and regional veterans networks, so we're making sure we're keeping up on all the latest happenings and also contributing our voice and the things we're doing here in Calvert County to the broader community. For instance, on the Joint Veterans Commission, that's a statewide commission for all the Veterans Affairs and Military Families Commissions for every county, and they invited myself and Dr. Townsend to talk to them all about Purple Star Schools and what we're doing here in Calvert, because we are the standard bearer for that across the state. So Calvert was called out there and briefed that. And same thing at the Maryland State Department of Education. Their program coordinators up there wanted us to come speak to them and the other schools about what we're doing here in Calvert County. These are some of the information presentations we have. So each month we typically start our commission meeting off with bringing in a guest speaker to talk about a different program or a nonprofit. As you can see, like Chris Vasalo's Heroes on the Water, they take veterans out free of cost to do fly fishing and fishing off kayaks, that type of thing. One I do want to call out there is Teresa Weeks. She was appointed by State's Attorney Bob Harvey to be the victim advocate for military, veterans, families, et cetera, here in Calvert County. And she has been working night and day to try to get a veterans court, treatment court here in Southern Maryland. That's probably the best way to do it, to make sure that all the counties are covered and to make sure we have the caseload to get the grants. Right now, the state's attorneys in St. Mary's, Calvert, and Charles are working together to get online, and then they're going to talk to the new administrative judge in District 4 on this. And talking to Teresa this morning, we're hoping if this stays on the glide path it's on, that they may be up and running by July of 2026.
So do other counties in the state already have this up and running, or is this the first?
There are other counties, and a lot of them do it by district, to include multiple counties. And then Baltimore City has a Veterans Treatment Court. There's a whole administration up in the court system that manages these. It's called the problem-solving courts. So some will have, drug courts or mental health docket, and then also veterans docket. And what it does, especially for you and the folks who are watching here, veterans who are coming in that have been charged with a crime, we're not talking about violent crimes or something like that. We're talking about misdemeanors, drug offenses, those types of things. Instead of just keep putting them into, the jail system, they're entered into this program where veteran services come in from both, public and private nonprofits, to help the veterans through this program. And it's one of those things like in the drug courts is where you graduate at the end of it. And it's really to get them back on their feet and to get them back in the right direction if they come off path, to keep that recidivism down for these minor petty crimes. So it's something we've been pushing for a couple of years. I know State's Attorney Harvey is 100% supportive. He has shown that by bringing Teresa on to be this role. And she is really leading the charge here in Southern Maryland for this. So it's a fantastic program. I hope we get it implemented next year.
Another avenue to address PTSD issues.
What's that?
Another avenue to address PTSD.
Absolutely. So as the services that are brought in for the veterans who are in this program, one of those things would be mental health, et cetera. So it's mental health, housing, job search, that help with that kind of stuff.
And what other counties on board?
St. Mary's and Charles.
Okay, great.
And don't quote me, I think potentially Prince George as well.
Okay.
But I think we're really focusing on the 3 Southern Maryland counties, excluding Prince George, because I believe they're the only counties that make up District 4. We still have a Certificates of Appreciation program. We've given out 11 so far, and this is just a public service announcement for those watching. If you know a business that's taking care of our military families, our veterans, our veteran caregivers, et cetera, please contact the Veterans Affairs Commission, contact your commissioners, get a message to somebody, and we'd like to get out there and recognize the businesses that are taking care of our veterans and our service members and families. Some of the feedback we continue to get is, just access to VA benefits and services. We have this 2C box down in St. Mary, the community-based outpatient clinics. So there is a place that is relatively nearby that they don't have to go into Baltimore or DC to get care. There are limitations there, but people still want closer access. There's also community programs, community care programs that the VA has where in certain circumstances you can get care, say at Calvert Health. If they don't provide the service within a mile radius or a certain service at the VA, you can go to a local provider. So they have some of that. Caregiver support continues to be an issue because a lot of times it creeps up on people. It's not something they've planned for, right? So if you're a caregiver of your spouse, you're aging together and then somebody develops, Alzheimer's or, some other debilitating condition. And now that spouse is now the caregiver and trying to negotiate the VA system, which could be daunting. It's always an issue, and getting those resources plugged in. And we have brought the DC VA down here multiple times to give presentations and to do like open enrollments essentially at the Calvert Library in Prince Frederick so people can come in and actually sign up for the program right there.
Are you encouraged with these first 3 bullets? Are you encouraged that you are making strides, or does it frustrate you? Do we have a long way to go in these 3 areas?
I think the resources are there. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of information out there. And to a lot of these things, especially when it comes to the mental health side of things, it is such a personal decision that, you hear a common, I don't know, I want to call it a frustration, but when we get together as a county to talk about mental health services in the county, We've been in these programs together, sitting at the table with the sheriff's department, county health, nonprofits, et cetera, all the stakeholders in the county talking about these services, and the programs, the resources, the advertisement, it's all there. And then there'll be some sort of event or open call, and they might get 1 or 2 people show up. It doesn't, I'm not discouraged by that. I like the fact that we have them available if people need them, and they make that choice to go seek the help, because it is such a personal decision to do. You can't force people to go seek mental health care or even medical care.
Is the hospital partnering with you in these areas? Do you have a good give and take with the head of the hospital and the different departments?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Dr. Temple and myself were on the initiative last year to discuss mental health. We are the Commission for Veterans and Military Families. We have an individual, Jackie Turnbull, who has attended the Crisis Intercept Mapping Summit statewide. So we're very much in touch and in tune with Calvert Health on this. I happen to serve on the LBHA, the Local Behavioral Health Authority, as well, with Andrea McDonald-Finland and her team. So we are very well connected as a commission to those folks you mentioned, Commissioner Grasso.
Good, thank you.
Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the property tax credits. This will be a recurring thing. I do get emails about this still, because it is available for counties to enact.
And what other counties have it?
That I don't know exactly. I know, and I know Anne Arundel County has it. They've implemented the tax credits that we've talked about, and that's actually we took their form that they use, and we were using that as our form that we were going to go forward with if we were to implement them. For these going forward, I know that it's been challenging budget times the last few years. I think the county knows that, and sometimes these types of tax credits are a great idea, but in due course as we get through these things, and I understand that, and I hope the community understands it as well. But I would recommend that we revisit this with finance and budget to see a recalculation of what we would think to implement this over time, because we presented you with 3 or 4 different options. I think it'd be great to just maybe look at the one option to start, and then you can layer on after that. And that first option would be that 50% property tax credit for those who have a service-connected disability between 99 and 50 or 75%. Because remember, 100% is already state law. And that's for people who make under $100,000 a year with AGI. That would be the first set of property tax credits I would recommend looking at to make an assessment of how that affects budget, and then implement and see what that does. And then from there, you can go to the next level down as you work down to the lower levels of disability that are offered by the state by enabling it or legislation. Our Veteran Resource Guide is still out there for the community. We bring it to every event we go to. It's a living document, so as we get new programs, new information, new points of contact, we go in there and we update it in real time to make sure it's up to date. And if anybody out there is accessing this and they see that there's something wrong with it, or there's something that's old, please let us know. We can't catch everything, so it'd be helpful.
Can I go online and see it?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank
Yes.
you.
It's on our website, and then also the QR code there.
Okay.
Here's something else we created this year, and this is great. We have Rebecca Richard, who's a new member of our team. She's the new educator, administrator member of the commission. And she worked to put together a Calvert County Military Family Guide, and this is part of our initiative of getting into supporting our military families as we expand in our mission. And it was done in conjunction with Purple Star School, but it's done, it's published, it's out there with Pax River and Andrews Air Force Base, so their education liaison officers can give this to parents. We're working on getting it into the schools, and it's also at the American Legion. So we're just getting it out there. And what that is it's different from the Veteran Resource Guide, because veterans require different resources and different programming than your active Guard or Reserve families. So what this is if you're moving into the community from, you just PCS, permanent change of station, from another base to this base, and you're living in Calvert County, this is a reference guide you can look at to look at military resources that are here in the county and in the area as well, in Maryland, to be frank, to get somebody kind of caught up to speed on what's here in the area. We've had a lot of events. We continue to participate in events year round. We try to be everywhere we can. We'll be out there at the Calvert County Fair, as always. We'll be there every day. Social media, that we've increased to 358 subscribers. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out, and this continues to increase every month. Our fearless leader on this was Lorraine Joyner, since she's retired, unfortunately. She's here today, though, to lend support. My distinguished colleague here has taken over that responsibility, so thank you, Ed, for keeping that going.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you have anything else on?
I'll just say with the newsletter, obviously Lorraine put us on the right track there, but we have increased our outreach in terms of subscribers by 67% in the last year. So, and that's due to the commission, as Dr. Temple mentioned, being at numerous events. So that's good news that I think we're getting the word out, certainly improving with our number of subscribers.
And that's a mix of active and inactive, so subscribers.
Yes, sir, that could be active or.
Veteran.
A
It could be
veteran or-
anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody could have access to it. Just got to sign up. It's on a constant contact. Just put in your email address.
Is CMR putting that messaging out there as well?
Yes, sir, absolutely. CMR, Calvert County Government, also our Community Resources page, our Facebook page, Community Resources also is frequently advertising events and such. So
We've had a great relationship with CMR throughout my time on the commission. So, and then with the creation of the Community Resources page as a standalone, they've also been echoing those messages. This is a great program that we implemented in 2024. Serving Together is a partnership here in the DMV area. It's between private, public, nonprofits, et cetera. And it's been established to help veterans in the community, getting resources together from all sorts of different avenues. I'll turn it over to Ed for this one because he has spearheaded this along with Mr. Donnie Williams, who's pictured there on the right, who's our head program coordinator here in Southern Maryland. So, Ed.
So, thank you. This is a program we are, the Office on Aging and our commission has developed with your support. Thank you. At our Southern Pines Senior Center in Lusby, where veterans can receive services, benefits navigation. They have questions. They can reach out to us twice a month, the second Wednesday and the fourth Friday of every month. They are at Southern Pines Senior Center. So right now, it's only twice a month, but it's twice a month. And Mr. Williams, Donnie's there all day. And we've seen 89 veterans served thus far, those 2 days a month for the past year. We have renewed our agreement with them, thank you. And we look forward to continuing to have Donnie with us. So they do a lot of different things in terms of connecting people with food, caregiver support. It could be housing. So there's a number of different things that Mr. Williams and his team provide for veterans and families. So we're excited to continue that partnership.
That's wonderful. I'm glad we have that in the county. That is really a great service.
It absolutely is. And it really, the whole point is to pull from everybody you can that is providing services. There are over 40,000 veteran-centric nonprofits in the country. And a lot of times for veterans, it could be overwhelming when you just type in a Google search. There's just so many options. It's a good problem to have, per se, but it can be daunting to get started. And these types of organizations can really get people pointed in the right direction with some guidance in what's local and what they provide. Taking that instead of scanning the numerous nonprofits that are out there and other public and private options. Purple Star School Program has probably been the most successful military families program we had this year, without a doubt. We had tremendous support from former Superintendent Dr. Townsell, from the administration, from the Board of Education, and from every school in the district. And it showed when it came down to the awards this year. So 23 of our 24 eligible schools or centers applied. And we ended up having, I think, almost half of the applications for this year were from Calvert County, statewide. And I think it's over 33 to like 35% of all the Purple Star schools in Maryland are from right here in Calvert County.
Who's the one outlier?
So that one's it's the Calvert Country School, but they have a little bit of different circumstance
Challenge.
than, it's a little more unique than the other schools and how they do it. But they are eligible, so we have confirmed that. And that's through that confirmation, we were able to get CTA involved, and CTA applied, and they actually were designated this year. So CTA is a Purple Star school as well. Mount Harmony retained their designation. Remember, it's a 2-year designation, so Mount Harmony will have to now reapply. I'm working with the state to figure out if there's a new application, essentially a renewal, an abridged application, or if they have to go through the whole process. So we're still learning through that because it's the first time the state's had to do it, because this is only the third year of eligibility. We've seen an increase in military family events because of this at each of the schools and also countywide. I saw some of you were there at the Purple Up Day that was at the American Legion in Chesapeake Beach that our own now commission member, Jackie Turnbow, set up all on her own with help, but she spearheaded that. So it's been really great to get the military families out there and get them connected here in Calvert County. This is our 10 schools that were designated this year with, hold on a second, lost my train of thought. With Mount Harmony, we have 11 total. So we will be working with the schools again this year that didn't make it last time. There were some schools we were very surprised that didn't make it. Pax High School is one. We were very surprised that they weren't designated. So we're working with schools. I've already taken a couple calls with schools that are starting to talk about it already. So hopefully we'll add to that number. The goal is to have all of our schools designated, to be the first county that is 100% designated.
I think you're going to make that goal.
I hope
Done
so.
a wonderful job with it.
I hope so. We continue to do community outreach. We've been involved with CSM. We do, and University of Maryland Global Campus. We have ex officio members from both of those, from College of Southern Maryland and Maryland Global Campus. So we're very tied into all the events they're having. If they're having a Veterans Resource Day or some student days at both locations, we're there. We're helping out, and so much involvement in that's the mental health implementation plan we were talking about earlier, Commissioner Grasso, there at Calvert Health. But there's been other mental health initiatives. The Crisis Intercept Mapping program is a tool that is grant funded that goes to each county to figure out where their blind spots are. When you're trying to respond to a mental health crisis, where are the blind spots? Where are the things that people aren't covered in? To kind of map that out in the community to expose weaknesses and then try to reinforce those. So we went through that process here in Calvert County. They're continuing to be involved in the Crisis Intercept Mapping at the state level. And I sat on a panel that was done at Bethel Church in Huntingtown on mental health. They invited us to come out and speak there as well. Goals. It's really just about continuing the outreach is the top one, I'd say, always. You'd be amazed at how many people have been out of the military for 10, 20, 30 years, and they'll approach us at the fair or at a booth and just say, I just never thought to apply. I never went to a war, so I didn't think I was eligible. There's so many different reasons, and we're like, hey, just fill out this form, contact these folks, and that gets them started. Just get enrolled in the system, and then go from there. And it happens every time we have an event. It happens. Continuing the Purple Star Schools program, the Purple Heart County designation has been a challenging event, navigating state bureaucracy, to be frank. We put in this request. We working with the National Order of the Purple Heart to establish Calvert County as a Purple Heart County. We've had your support on this. We've had support of County Administrator Turner and her predecessor, Mark Willis. And we submitted our applications, and we got a disapproval from State Highway Administration because they only do traffic signs. They kicked us over to the Maryland Transportation Commission. They do designations, but only certain types of designations. So we are working through this. We have a great champion. She's in the back there, Jessica Gattano from Planning and Zoning. She goes to these traffic meetings with these agencies, and she has been carrying the water for us day in and day out. She's sending emails frantically after we got this disapproval after 7 months. We just got an email saying we don't support this at this time. That's all they said. So we're like, okay, that's not enough. We need more information. Why don't you support it? What are the rules? And we only do traffic signs. This isn't a traffic sign, so you have to go here. Oh, this isn't the right designation. The sign doesn't meet the specs, all sorts of things. So we're continuing to work through that, and I know that we'll come to y'all if we need some reinforcement on there and some engagement. I know Jessica will come to you with any help needed. Because we got kind of stuck on that, we haven't really got into the Hidden Heroes Caregiver community designation. That's something we'd like to do in the future. This is part of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. This is something they do. The state has been designated a Hidden Heroes state, and that designation's offered for counties as well. So this is really focusing on the caregivers of our veterans and military families, the hidden heroes of service. And again, there's those property tax credits.
You have data on how many a breakdown of how many disabled veterans we have that would fit in that category?
For the property tax? I don't have it in front of me, but we do have it.
Give us an idea what the fiscal impact would be.
Yes, and that's where we'll reengage with finance and budget. Because the numbers we had was for a couple years ago, but we did have that in our initial presentation. It broke down each category and what the anticipated fiscal impact would be. So we can definitely get those numbers to you. I'll work with Jennifer and the staff to get those to you.
And was that 100,000 combined income or single?
Single,
Single, okay.
yeah, for that individual
Yes.
veteran.
Okay, thank you.
And there's other,
Yeah.
there's other prerequisites for those types of credits as well. Like you gotta be the homeowner, that type of thing. It's gotta be your only residence, those types of things. But we can get you those numbers for sure. Before I turn it over to questions, I just want to say personally, thank you so much for all your support the last 4 years. The support of the county administrator, all the team here, county attorney, everybody has been supportive throughout. As most of you know, I'm retiring from the military next year, and we'll be moving to Missouri to be closer to our oldest son, who's planning roots and looks to start a family out there, and we want to be near there. As we've talked about many times, Commissioner Ireland, it's hard when your grandkids are so far away, and we've seen our parents struggle year after year of having to fly in 3 or 4 times a year, and that's about it. And we decided when we were sitting down and really getting down to this decision, like we didn't want to live with that. We wanted to be there. So in that saying, Gavin and Warren can never leave Missouri, so we'll put that on them. But we're happy to go out there and to focus on that transition from the military and this move that's impending. It'll be April, May timeframe. I will be stepping down from this commission effective 1 September. So this will be the last time that I'm here briefing you, and I won't be on the commission anymore in a couple days. So I want to say thank you to everybody here, everybody in the staff. I was thinking about it the other day. I think we worked with every department in this county at one time or the other. Planning and zoning, parks and rec, you name it. It's been 100% support across the board. Calvert County Public Schools has been fantastic. The Sheriff's Department. I can't think of any pushback we've gotten here in this county when we were trying to get something done here. And the enthusiasm that we were met with while getting it done. So thank you so much to you. Commissioner Hart's not here. It's been a fantastic experience, and thank you so much again for your support.
Well, before we get into questions, thank you, Brandon. I'll call you by your first name because we are friends. It's rare that you see an individual relocate into a community and have the impact that you and your family has had on this community. I don't know of anybody in my lifetime that I've seen put forth the effort and give of your time. I mean, many a day, evening, I've seen you out and about, and I know your wife is a great support to you as you are to her, but it's, I've often thought, my gosh, does he ever see his family? Because you give so much to our community. You're a dynamic individual, very ethical individual, a family man, and you will be missed. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I agree, and it looks like you've already laid that foundation where you're going.
Yes, you see that?
I watched it on Facebook. No, it's pretty impressive, Brandon, it really is. We appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
Just want to echo what my fellow commissioners said, and thank you for all your work you've done, your service, and your entire staff, what they have done for Calvert County. Thank you.
I will ask one question before I let you
Yes.
go. There was some discussion a few months back about some cuts on the federal level. Have you seen an impact to service to the military?
Cuts as far as
Veteran
civilian
services?
employees. I haven't heard anything
Okay.
personally in the county. Somebody coming and saying, hey, because of federal cuts, or I'm not getting this, or I can't receive this, or I haven't heard anything personally.
I was just wondering, because you hear, news, you hear so much stuff on the news, you don't know what. Just wondering if we saw an actual impact. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's certain groups that are always put out first to make a political point. And veterans are one of those groups. So if you cut funding, you're going to cut folks from the Veterans Administration. It's going to hurt veterans. And that's, it can happen, but a lot of times it's political messaging. So it's hard to wade through it sometimes. But I haven't heard anything personally of somebody coming to me saying that's a problem
Well, that's good.
so far.
Good to hear that. Because we do have a significant military impact here in Calvert County and Southern Maryland as a whole. So we hate to see those.
I'm sure I'd imagine because of our heavy federal employment here, I'm sure there's been people who've been affected by federal employment cuts and freezing, higher freezes, and et cetera. I'm sure that's been felt here in the community.
Commissioners, just going to pipe in real quick. We can ask Donnie.
Who are you?
I'm Jennifer Moreland, Director of Community Resources. I work very closely with Brandon, or Dr. Temple, and there's a lot I want to say because we had a vision for this, what this could be, and I think he really elevated it even beyond that vision. And his leadership and he's a strategic leader. He gets down to business, has been able to move a lot of these objectives forward. So Brandon, we think so highly of you, and you will be very missed by us. And then I also wanted to say two more things. Donnie Williams with Serving Together, Ed had mentioned him before. We can ask him to track whether there's when there are certain trends or concerns, we can ask him to track that with the data. He gives us an amazing data report every month, and we give that data report to the committee, and it says all the different needs that people have. If there are concerns about federal changes, that can be something, if there's something that happens, he could track that and report back to you to let you know if we're seeing something. He does get a good volume for 2 days out of the month. I mean, you saw the numbers. It's pretty great. And then I also wanted to acknowledge, Lorraine Joyner's in the audience, my former executive admin, who I missed dearly. She has moved on to support Christmas in April, and they have a targeted focus now with veterans. And their applications come out this month. So I think this group has really galvanized a lot of support from the community, and she latched onto it right away. I mean, it's like I couldn't pry her away from the the Veterans Commission, but it's great, and so she's still living out the work. So I think, again, that says a lot as a testament to Dr. Temple's leadership.
Well, I've said it multiple times on the record here. Lorraine Joyner is the glue that held this commission together, and I will take that to the grave. So.
Well, in our jobs, we see lots of initiatives come forward. People have great ideas, and sometimes they kind of flounder around and they don't really take off. But I think that in this case, with your leadership, this thing is taken off. And hopefully we've got a good team behind you that's going to fill in and continue all this good work that you've started. But we do want to thank you for getting it off the ground. That's the hardest of all, is to get something off the ground. Actually getting people motivated to do something, and set some goals and initiatives. So, and you've done that. So you've got us on a pretty good course. So we greatly appreciate that. And
Thank you.
I hope Missouri understands what they're gaining.
We'll see. I'll let them know. Pat McCoy, who you all know is the vice chair of this commission, she will take over as acting chairwoman of this commission until they do officer voting in November. As you know, Pat's great. She's dedicated to this mission. Everything she does is veteran military families oriented. So I believe she'll do a great job and keep this commission moving in the right path.
One more thing. When you move, you're tasked with making sure we watch Harper grow up. She is adorable, and I have enjoyed that little girl.
Where's that CMR? I'm gonna have to get a clip of this.
She's not shy.
Put it on Facebook.
Yeah, she's not shy. She'll be great. We will, absolutely. Yeah, like I said this in the first speech I gave here on Memorial Day almost 4 years ago now, that we came into this community, my wife Kristen and I, and our son Aiden, and Harper, and were embraced with open arms right from the get-go. So thank you to the whole county. It's just been, it's hard to leave. It's a great place to live. So.
That was the day I met you, I think.
Yeah.
Talking at the Memorial Park.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next presentation that we have is Office of the County Administrator, Comcast build-out update. Ms. Reed, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Ashley Staples Reed, Special Projects Program Manager with the Office of the County Administrator, providing you a brief update today on the Comcast build-out along with some requests. I'll go ahead and forego the memo if that's all right. Okay, so for the purpose of today's presentation is to provide updates on progress to date, as well as seek authorization to conduct a public hearing to deobligate some funds that the state had granted to us last year. We'll provide a little bit more detail in the next slides. So build out to date, we've done phases 1, 2, and 3, and then we also have a DSP, which is the Difficult to Serve Properties Grant, which is the state grant that we'll be referring to in the later slides. So from a high level, we have 735 addresses with just 92 remaining across those phases. And they have been broken out in phase 3, and the DSP grant is where we're still in progress. So funding to date, it resides in our CIP project for the broadband expansion. We have a total of 7.95 that was allocated to that CIP. The majority of it has been exhausted, but there is a breakdown of what has been allocated. So 4.7 in ARPA funds that were identified, 1.6 which the commissioners allocated from franchise fees in the fiscal year 22, and then the 1.5 total value of the Homestretch Difficult to Serve Properties Grant, which was a state grant that was awarded last year. So total is 1.65 with a 1.1 state grant and then a $550,000 county match, which we utilized prior year funds from when we did receive that grant award last year. Remaining funding is going to be 1.9, so we have exhausted quite a bit of that, which shows in the numbers that we have built out to date. So excluding the grant that was awarded by the state last year, we have $318,000 left, and that's from that allocation from the franchise fees of FY22. The $1.65 million grant agreement is something up for consideration. So some funding challenges that we had received was from the OSB office, which is the State Office of Broadband, which resides under the Department of Housing and Community Development. So their criteria that they had established changed and waxed and waned a little bit throughout the process of signing an agreement and then identifying eligible houses. So the constraints that OSB had throughout this whole process actually resulted in a extreme eligibility requirement that only allotted 22 homes to be added to this grant. So it's unfortunate that this $1.1 million grant has now resulted in a $47,000 grant. But that is where we're at right now. There is some promissory effects of that in regards to the totality of the project. But ultimately, we do have to deobligate these state funds. So we do have to deobligate from 1.1 to 47,000.
So what was the major issue that caused this reduction in eligibility?
So it's a little uncertain, truly, to get a clear answer from the State Office of Broadband. What they have alluded to us is that they worked with the U.S. Department of Treasury. So really, the grant funds that the state is administering is ARPA funds in a nutshell. So it's ARPA funds that the state is holding and distributing to jurisdictions. So they're working closely with the Department of Treasury in order to outline parameters for eligibility of these houses. And some of the gray areas that we were really getting feedback from is that it couldn't be a certain distance. If it was too long, it couldn't be considered. If it was too short, it couldn't be considered, which wasn't truly outlined in the original solicitation. So we were a little disappointed by that, but we are hopeful that we can still finish the build out with the funds that we still have allocated in the CIP project, but that's where we're at with that in regards to eligibility. Once we do deobligate the state funding portion, the commissioners can choose to deobligate the equivalent match that you guys originally obligated. So the corresponding deobligation for the county match would be a $526,407.87 reduction in that CIP. I would like to caution against this only because it could result in a deficit to that CIP project and eventually resulting in me having to come back to you guys asking for additional funds. So I would truly implore the commissioners to consider leaving the county assigned funds that have already been assigned into that CIP for the last year. That way we can ensure that this project gets done and fully funded. So if we do that and we only deobligate the state's portion, we would have a remaining $915,397 within that CIP to complete the funding for the project. And I have worked with Comcast, and they have assured me that is more than enough. So I actually believe that we would have remaining surplus that we could actually revert back to the general fund once this project is concluded.
And that time frame is what?
So now that the difficult to serve properties, a grant has been assigned, established, and we've concluded the 22 addresses that will that Comcast can start building. They've started that initiative. So that should be underway within the next month, and I anticipate that going pretty smoothly because those addresses are from individuals that have adamantly expressed interest, and a lot of times they are just the long driveway, so we don't need a lot of easements from these individuals because, again, that's the bulk of the issue. So I do believe that we can get this project done by the end of the year. That's not saying that all remaining addresses may be complete. So to just remind you guys, we do have a really difficult easement issue that we establish parameters for. So we are notifying individuals that need easements multiple times, either with AmeriCom, which is the easement company that Comcast utilizes, and then also county informing as well. So once we reach a threshold, we remove that address from the project. As of right now, we have not officially removed addresses from the project, but that threshold has been met for a number of these projects. So the reality is that we will have to remove some of these projects just because we cannot obtain easements from neighboring properties.
So there's 92 addresses left. And what you're saying is we may not be able to give service to all 92
Correct.
addresses.
That is
Okay.
correct, Commissioner. So the requested action is to authorize staff to proceed with conducting the public hearing in order to deobligate those state funds. And then there will be an updated agreement to execute the same day. Questions?
Yeah, I think that's the direction we would support.
So, Mr. President, I make a motion that we move that we authorize staff to schedule a public hearing to deobligate only the state's portion of the funds awarded under the Difficult to Serve Properties Grant and to execute the corresponding grant amendment.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. We
Thank
plan
you.
to be with you in September for that public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last presentation today, Office of the County Administrator, Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee Progress Update. Morning.
Morning.
It's still morning. Reverend Jones, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist. I'm also the staff liaison for the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. Today, I'm joined by our fabulous leaders of the committee. I have Pastor Dana Jones, who is the chair of the Student Safety Committee, and I have Leslie Irvin, who is the vice chair of the Student Safety Committee. And we asked to forgo the reading of the memo today and jump right into the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for affording us the opportunity to provide you with an update. Let me say for the public record that our committee was formed as a result of a resolution passed by this body on May of 2024. We were formed as a result of the volume of complaints received by the Board of County Commissioners regarding student, staff, and faculty safety and well-being in our school systems. We are charged with providing advice and recommendations how to best enhance positive aspects of the learning environment and improving our school culture. Our members have come from a broad array of disciplines, and note that we have health officials, public school officials, both staff, who support staff and teachers, law enforcement, and even a member of the Center for School Safety, the State Center for School Safety. And in addition to that, we have citizens from each of our election districts. To date, we've held 10 meetings and 3 public input sessions We've decided to have quarterly public input sessions designated in the evening. They have been both in person and virtual.
So for the first couple of months, what we did was just kind of brainstorm, sit together as a group, talk about the things that were heavy on our hearts, things that we were hearing from family members, friends, people that work in the community, just trying to get a sense of where we needed to direct most of our efforts. Once we finished those meetings, it became kind of clear that we needed to create some subcommittees. So you can see the subcommittees that were there. We have 5 of those. Those were formed based on the kind of the overarching themes that came out of those first 3 meetings that we had. So we've got the safe and supportive environment, the support for Calvert County Public Schools, both staff and contractors, empowering positive student behavior, modern facilities and resources, as well as family and community engagement.
Let me say, as we proceeded with this, we stayed and we were attentive to the bounds of the resolution. We were very sensitive to the fact that when you open up something that can be as volatile as the question of public safety, people will go everywhere. And so in the midst of this, the formation of the committees and the directions were to follow the resolution so that we could respond to what you asked us to do. And so while some may think that we have been constricting in our thoughts, we realize that our authority to serve in an advisory capacity is designated by what is written in the resolution, and we followed that. Let me just say that we moved on to compiling data and information. Critical for us in any strategic approach to what we do is really recognizing that we need to know what is before we try to get to what should be or what isn't, but really what is. And so we've done the following things. Our first presentation came from the Maryland Center for School Safety. Dino, who's a member of our team, volunteered to go first in this process. And so we dealt with that. We got mid-year school data from then Dr. Townsend, who was our superintendent at that point. We had an overview from the Calvert Family Network, which is basically a part of local government under our community resources. We also dealt with the tracking and management partnerships between the school systems and particularly their student services office. We had an overview from the Student Services Office, an overview from the Health Department, presentations jointly from the state police, the county sheriff, and the Mr. Titus, who serves as the lead person in school services for school safety. And then we also had a joint presentation from the local care team, state's attorney's office, and the office of the magistrate. Let me just say that last presentation, we were disappointed because, quite honestly, as we've gone through this process, what we've come to understand is that there has been a generational shift in how student and juvenile discipline is handled in the state of Maryland, dictated by changes in COMAR, dictated by legislative actions and amendments that continue to be rolled out by the General Assembly. Key in all of this is the authority that has been placed in the hands of the Department of Juvenile Services. What parents think happens with regard to what happens with student and discipline and behavioral issues from a legal standpoint is far different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and the most radically different from what it was 30 years ago. A great deal of authority is placed in the hands of juvenile services. They were willing to present to us, and 2 days before they were to present, the governor had a administrative shift, and the result was, in essence, a gag on public presentations. So we have not heard publicly from them. We have heard in executive session from them, and I think the public needs to hear. I think the Calvert County public needs to hear what juvenile services is now and the limits and restrictions on the legal community and the law enforcement community and the massive level of authority granted to the Department of Juvenile Services. It is counter to anything that that I could have ever imagined as a member of the public. And I think that the public needs to hear that.
Reverend Jones, how long ago was that the gag order was issued? And
It was about 2 months ago, and what we're doing, we're trying to make a circle back. Emily is reaching out to them to see if in fact that has been lifted. I think that before we finish our work, the public needs to hear, because it is critical to understand how much our hands are tied, and how much even the school officials, safety advocates, the resource officers, sheriff's office, the state police, how much our hands are tied. And poor Mr. Harvey, with all due respect, the legal community has to almost negotiate for what should come to them anymore based upon what the General Assembly has done.
Does juvenile services dictate down into the counties how discipline is conducted?
Beyond the schools, code of conduct, yes.
Okay.
So DJS gets involved when law enforcement gets involved. So in the code of conduct, there are certain disciplinary categories that involve the involvement of law enforcement. They are one of the stops in student discipline beyond the schools when law enforcement is called in. In meeting with all of these groups, I think one of the things that we've learned is that there's really kind of a roadmap. Law enforcement is the entry. They get referred to DJS. And if further escalation is needed, that's when the magistrate's office gets involved. But they're just a stop in that process should escalation need to be done.
Does the school code of conduct go hand in hand with juvenile services, or are juvenile services a bit more lenient? I mean, because what you want is you want resolution, you want consequences to actions, you want the actions to stop, and for students to know if you do A, B will be the consequence. Do you feel like the state and the schools are working hand in hand and doling out consequences equitably and consistently?
Let me say it this way. In our recommendations, I am sure that you will read language about the need for consistency. Calvert operates a site-based management process. Even the interpretations of its own code of conduct are left to the management and leadership at the school. And so what parents are saying in various ways is that the inconsistency in that for similar actions and behavior exists. And that's what frustrates people. That if it happens, let's just say at X high school, and the same thing happens at Y high school, the results may be different. That inconsistency is challenging for the public. The second point, going back to the premise of your question, which was really, is there a correlation and a harmony between what we have for code of conduct and what DJS has? And let me just say that to the extent that the school system has been able to make the adjustments they have, but they realize that there are further changes that need to be made. The real question that really, when DGS gets involved, is when law enforcement is involved, and when what was once a generation ago considered criminal behavior is today now considered a need for behavioral modification. And subsequently, the actions or inactions that take place often frustrate those of us who lived in a different generation, because we expect you do wrong, there are consequences for that. And then to further create this frustration is that the remedies sought by DJS to basically avoid criminalizing the actions that the child has been involved in, while novel and certainly honorable in what they would appear to be, the teeth seem not to be there for compliance. And so what happens often is they're left to the will of how much the student and the parent is willing to comply with those standards. And some of the anecdotal stuff that we have heard probably shouldn't be repeated in public, but the fact of the matter is we're challenged by households that will not comply with those standards.
I wanted to ask you something else. Do you, I have heard this, and I don't know if it's fact or fiction, but once DJS gets involved, and there's like a mark on the Calvert County school system because we've had a student that has done something that rose to the level of law enforcement being involved. I've heard that the state has relaxed the rules or relaxed the consequences because in reporting, they don't want the school system to be blemished. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I don't know if it's fact or
I
fiction.
don't know that to be fact.
Okay.
And I haven't heard that. But what I understand is that there was a great deal of concern, and you got to understand that our public goes from one end to the other when it comes to this issue of what should happen with behavior. And even on this commission, I had people on my right who wanted everything to be okay, and I had people on my left that wanted to lock up everybody. So in the midst of all of that, you understand that the court of public opinion does not sway one particular way on this area. And so what we do know is that we want safe environments. We want children to feel comfortable. And as we were reminded last week when we met with the safety advocates at the school, let's be mindful. 90% of our children get up every morning and do what they're supposed to do and do it well. Don't lose focus on that. They do it and they do it very well. We have 10% or less of our families who are challenged. And I do not lay this on children. Children do not rear themselves. Children do not birth themselves. This is a family and a community issue that we have to own, and folk need to own their children. So that's as simple as I can place it. And in that, we seek to find remedies where communally we can create a positive environment, because what comes out of each house can have a negative impact on us collectively. And so that's our charge.
Just to add another piece to it, I believe it was in 2012, Comar removed the zero tolerance language. So that's kind of another layer that has made things just maybe a little more challenging for the public to understand why certain things are happening in the way that they do.
What did they change it to say?
There's just no zero tolerance at all. There's
They just
nothing that
eliminated that
happens
completely.
there's nothing that has zero tolerance.
And in fact, what can and cannot be charged is then assigned by age categories.
Yep.
I mean, if you're very young, based upon the state's regulations, you can darn near do anything and be talked to. So in the midst of that, we find, that's why we find it necessary for DJS to make a public presentation. They really have to say to the public what the challenges are and how they are responding to them.
Okay, so the next thing that we found to be important, not only was data collection a piece that we wanted to really focus on, we wanted to make sure that the committee was very educated and aware of the things that were happening and things that were available in our county. So it was really important for us to get actual numbers from the presentations because when we're talking about recommendations, there's nothing that we wanted to do that was just based on a gut feeling. It had to speak from numbers. So that was a really big part of what we spent most of our time doing on this committee, looking at the numbers. What can we count? What do we see? And naming those things. When you're looking at collecting data, you want to make sure that you get it from multiple data points. So having presentations, getting actual numbers from the different agencies, that was of utmost importance. But then it's also important to make sure that we add a piece in, like a community survey. So we all sat down as subcommittee members, created 2 to 3 questions that we felt were important representing our subcommittees. We kind of put all of those together and came up with a survey that we felt was going to give us even some more information that we needed, some more pieces of data, as well as some anecdotal information that we felt was important. Because it is important to make sure that the community thinks that and understands we really do want to hear what they have to say. We weren't getting any input during our public sessions that we offered. Nobody was coming in to speak to us. Nobody was coming online during our meetings. So it was really important to make sure that we gave the opportunity to the communities and the families in this county to talk to us, just so that we could put our, get our thumb on the pulse a little bit, see what was out there. So in July, that was put out. Erin Lowe and her staff did a fantastic job getting that survey together, getting it ready, getting it something that the public would be able to get onto and complete. And some of the topics that we found ourselves were exactly some of the same things that the community survey showed us. So bullying was one that came out, vaping, as well as mental health support for students and staff, and then safety training for students and staff as well. We're still kind of currently thumbing through those results, looking to see how the best way. I know that Emily and Aaron have been working on trying to figure out how to get the anecdotal pieces to us. There was a lot of information, like Pastor Jones said, that should not be public knowledge. Those were, some very intimate details that were provided. So we just have to figure out how to get those things to the committee so that we understand what the need is, what the community is telling us, and then we can use that information to further help us with our recommendations for our final report.
It's very important to recognize the executive privileges, even in the Sunshine State, that exist when you talk about personnel and arrests. And so we want to deal with framing those anecdotal comments in regards to how they fall into the spectrum of need, as opposed to what he or she may have written about X or Y. Let the people who deal with them and supervise them follow through with that. But from a public policy standpoint, let's deal with the context that we're trying to deal with. And so that's where we're hoping we can go with this.
So, Reverend Jones, you and I are classmates. I'm always bragging about that. And so I have a question for you. Bullying, is vaping the new smoking that occurred when we were in school?
Yes.
And is physical bullying different than, bullying's been around forever.
Right.
Is the physical bullying different, or is it the social media bullying that's new today?
It's a follow-up on the
a
social
layer.
media bullying, and the crazy aspect of this goes this way. Bullying on social media or on the internet is illegal. Bullying in person is not. So you have this contradiction that starts there. The other thing that the safety officer said to us last week that we have to be cognizant of is that one of the things that just shocked me, 63% of the students who filled out the student survey said that they've been bullied. Now, let me just say that if that had been 16%, we could have said, why didn't we hear a hue and cry? 63%, you don't miss 63%. And so what people on the ground are saying is this. Oftentimes, bullying will be used as an excuse for behavior. They made me do it. That's considered bullying, And so in the midst of all of this, I think that there is a difference, but the real difference between the generation that we grew up in and what we're facing now is that ugly language is publicly acceptable now. you got to realize that the public discourse today is largely negative. We grew up in an environment that it was inappropriate to say those things. The ethical standard for behavior was completely different in the environment that we grew up in. And you need to understand that our parents had a cure for half of what we're dealing with right now.
Yes, they did. And it worked.
They had a cure, and nobody needed to do it. I joke sometimes that the administrators in the school, Sam Bergen, had more authority at Calvert High School than any law enforcement officer needed to have.
Absolutely.
Then
They
you
called
got-
him when they had a problem.
Yeah.
Then you got it when you got home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
And
had two ways.
so we're dealing with a radically different place. The other thing that I come to grips with, that while the times are different, for those of us who have been here long term, we're also dealing with a changing social milieu created, for lack of better terms, by us becoming more urbanized than we would prefer to be. We have a different set of values and a different way of looking at life now as a community than we did years ago. And so some of what we're dealing with is to also recognize that part of our change and part of our growth means that we need to be prepared to, if we want to maintain the quality of life that we are accustomed to, we've got to be able to help families navigate the processes and the culture of today in a way that we can maintain our quality of life. If we don't, we will be here allowing the tail to wag the dog. When you talk about less than 10% of our kids causing us to spend this time and energy, you got to realize that we've got to respond to a minority population so that we can keep the majority moving positively forward.
I think one more thing also to bring about for the bullying aspect is that I think there's an education piece that needs to happen. I think that there are a lot of families that aren't really quite sure what the definition of bullying is. There's a definite distinction between a mean moment and bullying. So a lot of times, things that are considered a mean moment, bullying is something that happens over an extended period of time. There's an imbalance of power. I'm a teacher at St. Leonard Elementary School. This is year 28 for me. So,
Thank you.
Absolutely, it's my favorite thing to do ever. But I think it's important when, you look at social media and you see the things that they're talking about, a lot of times it's actually not bullying. It's more those mean moment type things. So it's about educating everybody, including the students. If you're going to fill out the bullying form, is it actual bullying? So there's a lot of education that I'm hoping that will come from our recommendations that we make in our final report. Not only education for students and staff, but for the families as well. That has been top priority for me, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page when it comes to law, when it comes to definitions, when it comes to understanding what roles are for everybody, so that we can all coincide and continue to make this a great place to live for everybody. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that I think part of the things that we're going to try to look at when it comes to bullying is just the education piece and making sure that, we're kind of all on the same page when it comes to that.
We are currently, our subcommittees are examining the data and policies, going over materials presented, trying to identify the gaps, because we think in the gaps is where we will find our short and long-term solutions, and that quick, if you will, low-hanging fruit. We're starting to form some preliminary recommendations for schools and community partners. We are moving to this section where we're dealing with roundtables, where we're basically spending time going over stuff and trying to draw out the pieces that will ultimately end up in this final report.
So some of the things that we are kind of finding ourselves, we had this big it seemed like task that we had to undertake. But the more we work, the more it's kind of just leading us down this very distinct path, which is why we got all the data, which is why we had all the presentations. It was really important to get all of that information to us so that we could kind of start down the place where we are going to be able to get that final report to you guys with the recommendations. So some of the things that we've come up with, one of the things, there doesn't appear to be a centralized source of publicly available data related to student safety and wellness. So they were able to get that information to us. Is there a place where that can be held publicly so that the public, there are parents that do want to know that kind of stuff. Is there a place where they can, kind of log on and find it? Procedures may be outlined in existing policies, but the process for how the external agencies and schools coordinate in disciplinary matters may not be clearly or accessibly presented. So we have found there actually are a lot of resources in this county available. I just don't think everybody understands what they are or how to maneuver to get to the place where you can get the most support that you need. So trying to come up with a single comprehensive hub of safety and wellness resources for students, parents, staff, just really isn't out there right now. I see that thing flying around. What is that?
head a little bit ago.
I saw that. I was like, what is that? Sorry.
So may I just
yeah.
ask you, do we have counselors in the schools now?
We do. So each
So
school
they
has a
probably
guidance
should have
counselor.
that.
And that's exactly, I think, when Cecilia came to talk to us, Cecilia Lewis from Student Services, that was something that, we made mention. At the beginning of the school year, there's a lot of things that we get as staff when it comes to training. And I know that the guidance counselors have their own separate meetings outside of what all of us are doing, and everybody kind of has the place where they go to get all their information. So just making sure that we have our local care team not just, coming up with a page that is shared by Cecilia, but actually trying to see if maybe we can get those people in to talk with the counselors so that we're coming right from the horse's mouth and they can understand what those resources are that are available. So when a student or a family presents with something that maybe the school can't handle, they know where they can go to.
Right.
We do also have the health department, which, as far as I know, there are not very many counties that have a relationship with the health department like we do, so we are very lucky in that aspect. We actually have counselors from the health department that come into the school building to provide support to students in that setting. So they're kind of spread few and far between. Again, it takes a referral from the counselor that's sent home. The parents have to agree to that. So, sometimes that's where the crux lies. If there's a student that the counselor sometimes even the student themselves is asking for support. But they take that form home and the parents won't fill it out, the health department can't get involved. So we do have some layers available, but, like Pastor Jones has mentioned, it's, you still have to have family involvement. And if it's not there, it becomes a barrier. So just, trying to get that information first and foremost to what we could say our frontline workers or counselors, letting them know these are the things that are available, and then, making sure that we try to get the health department that support as much as we possibly can. Those people share schools. We don't have one per school like the counselors, but there is representation from the health department in all of our schools and all the levels. Speaking of which, there are some staffing gaps. Our school psychologists, we still have probably 4 or 5 of those that are not filled at this point, and that's kind of standard from year to year. Our pupil personnel workers and our safety advocates are there. But just making sure that, and I know that this one isn't listed, but I also know that our social workers, sometimes we don't have one of those per building. But they've been so great in the past where if there is a building that doesn't have one, they'll kind of share schools. And they might not be able to come into the school. They share schools now as it is. The one that's at St. Leonard, she's with us, and at Mill Creek Middle. But having the social worker is another layer that is there to kind of provide some extra support along with the counselors and the health department counselors.
And we mentioned that earlier. That's not a function of they don't have the positions. It's filling those positions. that's
Filling
the
those
issue.
positions. As of last Wednesday, only 40% of the school psychologist positions were filled.
And that's a nationwide issue.
That's a
It's not
nationwide
just
issue.
us.
That
Yes.
is an issue of basically talent acquisition. And, you look at it from a price standpoint, you look at it from other factors. I mean, we're not unique at all in that situation. As I said here, one of the things I was thinking though is that perhaps we need to think about if this is going to be a consistent issue, then what's the alternative? Because you can't just sit around and say we can't hire school psychologists and everybody has that problem. That's not an answer. The answer is what's the alternative? What other position can we look at? What skill level comes close enough to do what we need to have done, as opposed to the in-depth level that we might need at a identified psychologist? And I think that 40% of anything is not enough, and so we need to really be looking at what our alternatives are.
I know probably, I think it was pre-COVID, when Larry Polsky was working for the health department. I had him come to St. Leonard because I just wanted him to see what we were working with on a daily basis, the challenges that our students had. And we sat down and we talked. I'm at a Title I school, which is a school that receives federal funding based on the number of students that are free and reduced meals. I actually run that program at the school. So I had him come so that, he could just kind of see. I was just begging, we need more support. We need people. We need boots on the ground. And he basically told me he can't find the people to do it because what'll happen is they'll bring them down, competitive salaries, a spouse comes along, they can't find something in the county. So nobody wants to move down here to live and work when both of them can't find a job that will fulfill what they need for their cost of living. And I'm pretty sure that kind of still speaks true to this day.
So real quick, you run the program for Title I schools countywide or just in St.
No,
Leonard?
just at St. Leonard.
How many Title I schools do we have in the county now?
We have 3 currently.
Okay.
The Dow Elementary School, and then the Patuxent Hill campus
Okay.
in Lusby, and then St. Leonard as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We also found there has been an increase in vaping incidents district-wide. They did implement in the middle schools, and I believe all of the high schools now as well, the sensors that will kind of alert the office whenever there is somebody vaping in the bathrooms. So we'll have to see how that data plays out once they've been in schools for about a year or so. And I know that they've had an increase in reporting of those incidences. But we're hoping that's just because now they're taking it a little more seriously. And then we had multiple presenters emphasize again, we've been saying this the entire time, the low parent guardian involvement is linked to the increased student behavioral challenges and reduced effectiveness of our support services.
And that cannot be underemphasized.
Yeah.
When we have our local care team present to us the fact that, they have students and parents who are supposed to be coming to sessions as alternative treatment to matters of discipline, and they won't show up. The parent won't bring the child. The parent won't come. Even if the child is willing, the parent won't come. We can't underemphasize that, because one of the things that we have to recognize is that we are not a resource-poor county. We don't have these problems because we don't have some attempt to address solutions. We do have to deal better with publicly informing people. We do need to coordinate some of this stuff in ways that make sense for the public. But we have to have responsible actions. We have to hold people accountable who are not responsible.
That bullet is key to the success of our schools.
Yes.
Most definitely it is.
Yeah.
I see it every day.
And again, let's not forget, the 90% are getting it right.
Yes,
Let's not forget that.
We're lucky it's that high.
That's right.
We are.
We are. And, we've got some wonderful families and some wonderful children. Don't lose sight of that. I think what we want to do is we want to keep the environment in a very positive way. We want that number to be 92 or 93% soon. you know, and so we're never going to be trouble-free. But we don't want to wait until that number is 70% before we act. You know, we want to keep our children going, and we want the return for the investment. We do not, in my opinion, we do not cheat our schools. And so there's an expectation for the return on investment.
So that 10%, is that in middle school, high school, or where's the divide there? And do we see a shift that goes with that?
I think we see
or-
the shift always. It's human behavior has been consistent throughout the years. When puberty kicks in and you start moving differently, you start thinking differently, you move that way. But the other thing that bothers me, and those of us who have been community coaches, we see it all the time, and that is that the older the child gets, the less you see the parent.
And the handbook that, the code of conduct, if that is implemented and implemented with regularity, I mean, we all went to school with kids who were disruptive, you know? And I think children who don't have, when children get into middle school and, you know, they start speaking out and they get into high school, that's always been there because of their background. And that's not their fault. It's the way they've been raised. But if they can go to a school with consistency, and I think we'll see a big difference. You know, I had one of my children tell me it was always great to act like you were the jerk in my life, the one who was, you know, with the rules. But quite frankly, I wasn't always ready to do what my friends were doing, but I had you to call the bad person and you to guide me now that this adult child has children of their own. So children do want that. I mean, discipline is a hug. It is a hug. It's a safety net as well. They may not like it, but if we could consistently enforce this, I think we'd see a tremendous improvement.
Emily and I literally just had a conversation about that before we came in. The exact same thing.
So the code of conduct policy, how often is that updated?
Yearly.
Yearly.
I sat on the committee probably 4 or 5 years ago, the review committee, but they look at it every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the issue again is consistency, not the intent. The other thing that I think that we have to also realize is that social media has such a profound impact on young people's lives. And that is critical, and it has an impact on how parenting is taking place as well, and what kind of challenges parents have to be prepared for. But as they say, since we're the only thing between you and lunch, we're going to try to get to the end of this. Relevant outstanding data. The standard operating procedures for bullying is something that we really need to figure out. What happens once you fill out the form, and how do we deal with the victim and the perpetrator? And so in the midst of this, we're trying to get an answer to that. This issue of de-escalation, who gets the training and who should get the training in the current environment is a question that we're trying to get an answer to. There's a gap in the safety coverage, and many people believe that we need to do more at the elementary school level. Just let me say to you that the way I'm leaning in this is that the sooner the better. If you will, standards in elementary school, I think they will serve as, for lack of better terms, preventive public safety. If our young folks are akin to standards differently there and get the support that they need early on, we won't see some of this happening later on. Safety training the students receive is important as well, and how often is it enforced and carried out, whether it's drills or whatever. And finally, let me just say this. Schools can't be responsible for children who don't show up. And among some of our lower performing students, we have our highest absentee rate. And the consistency between that and other discipline issues are relevant. And I think that, again, thankfully, they're a growing minority population in terms of size, but it's still problematic.
So final steps needed. We're still planning on inviting a couple more community partners to present some more data to us. Presentation of our community survey results will be forthcoming. Continuing to hold a work session during our regular meetings to help us toward getting that drafted final report for you guys. Deliver a final report with recommendations to you and receive guidance for providing information to community partners. This last piece is, in my opinion, of utmost importance. Actually, those last two bullets. Setting up a tracking system for the implementation of our recommendations past the lifespan of us. Oftentimes, things are, time and energy is put into them, and then there's no accountability on the back end, and things just kind of fall to the wayside. We all have taken this very seriously. We believe in what we are doing. We are taking time and energy to make sure that we are doing what we feel is going to be the best plan and course of action for our communities. So making sure that we have something on the back end that we can track and follow so that there is a piece of accountability. And I was just talking to Aaron before I came in. I think it's going to be really important to not only get this report to you as our county commissioners, but also our Board of Education members, the heads at all of the different disciplines that we have and agencies throughout the county, DJS, the Sheriff's Department. I think everybody really needs to make sure that they see what these recommendations are, and we try to work together to make sure that we make them happen.
So when you're ready for your final report, what we'll probably do is have a joint meeting with us and the BOE.
Perfect.
That'll be fine. Let me just say that we are trying very hard to make sure you have it for holiday reading. We want to wrap this up and move on to other aspects of living. And in the midst of doing that, we hope to draw closure to this. We have a framework, and while this final slide talks about how folks can help us in promote engagement and contact us with information if you have it, share relevant data, all of that's important. But let me just say that what has been superb in this process has been the staff support that we've received from your folks. Emily holds a special public servant place in my heart because she follows through, and I actually enjoy calling here and starting off with, when are you going to move my trash? She normally, she's got it figured out by now that that's me. But in the midst of all of that, Linda has brought a degree of expertise that has allowed us to even get to the point of start thinking about how we want to frame the format and deliver the product. Aaron has been exceptional. Moreland has been really trying to make sure we understand what is now and what services are available in the community now and how we should try to make those linkages. And so we've been really pleased. And I'll give all the agencies their props. Everybody, all the ex-official members have really stood up and really performed well and tried very hard to give us what we needed. I think that will continue with Dr. Newsom and the school system. He has publicly stated that his priority is safety. And so if that being the case, and he's shown that so far, because he attended the meeting that we had with safety advocates. He, and provided his input and the rest. And so I'd like to wrap this up by simply saying that we need to see this as a challenge to our community and embrace this and embrace those children as our children. I do not expect the government to rear children. I do not expect us to have the answers for every problem, but I think that we have a responsibility to structure what we offer and the opportunities for everyone to be successful. Individual effort, individual accountability, and the acceptance of responsibility are critical to whether or not anybody's going to be successful. I think we will lay out some things that offer success for all, but at the same time, I don't want the public to be confused. We don't have a magic bullet, and we won't have one that will fix every problem. What we will offer are alternatives to behavior that is demeaning for both personal growth and public safety.
So I have one more question for you. So across the school system, you have the resource officer and you have the principal there, and you have an issue. Is it clear or is it a gray area? When do they call DJS or when they call law enforcement?
No, the DJS piece comes when you have a behavior that is referred to law enforcement.
So it does go to law enforcement first.
Let's not confuse the safety advocates. We are blessed to have safety advocates who are retired police officers, who actually offer, if you will, a buffer and a corrective behavior process long before law enforcement needs to be engaged. But when law enforcement needs to be engaged, then that's when the process moves to DJS and the rest. But the principal works with the safety advocates, and I would argue that 70% of the behavior never makes it to that level.
Very good.
So one of the first things you talked about was the inconsistencies and the way things are, I guess, interpreted, the way they're enforced across the board. That also creates a challenge for that safety officer.
Absolutely.
Going from school to school.
Absolutely, and trust me, we've heard that.
Okay.
We've heard that because I've had safety advocates come to me and say, at X school, this wouldn't have gotten to a sneeze because the principal would have slammed it down in a hurry. In other places, we're a little more lenient and we allow things to mushroom. But again, this place has long been an advocate of site-based management. And the real danger to that is what one of our members said the other day. You can have a system of schools or you can have a school system. And that's the real challenge.
Well, I think the BOE that we have in place, if we do that joint meeting, I think that's going to be a step definitely in the right direction once you guys come up with a solution to address it.
So we greatly appreciate you all and your whole group's work on this. And I think that when the board set this up, we were looking for an unbiased view. Because some of the information, when it gets presented, depending on who's presenting it, is how it gets interpreted.
Yes.
So our goal was, and I think we're going to achieve our goal, is that it's an unbiased view and perspective.
Well, I think the one thing that I felt assured by was that when we made our presentation to safety advocates, they told us we were on target. And that's affirmative because they're at the front line. And they're not trying to fill out reports that make us look good. They're dealing with the realities of the front line.
So whenever you're getting close to think you're ready, give us a heads up so we can start to coordinate meetings.
I'm sure the administrator will let you know when we're warm
No rush. We want you to
Yeah.
finish your task,
Yes.
but whenever you think you're starting to get close, so we can start coordinating a meeting.
Thank you all so much, and I think we all feel that this advisory committee is one of the most important advisory committees we will probably see in our terms. And it's going to steer the course for all of our young people and our children. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for affording us the opportunity and for gifting us with the talented array of personnel that you provided us. I think we have a good, balanced committee, a committee that, as you indicated, that will produce an unbiased report.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe that brings us to public comment. Work session. Darn, I was trying to get out of here. Darn. I know.
Jason said okay.
So that brings us to work session, Department of Planning and Zoning updates to the master plan chapters on town centers and the Prince Frederick Town Center. Darn. I was trying to end on a good note. I'm sure this will be a good note.
It's only a little presentation.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jason Brinkley, Director of Planning and Zoning. And just for the record, we're the ones standing in the way of lunch. You guys are not.
Yes, you are. And your staff. So.
Just to my left, we have Tamara Blake Wallace, who's the Deputy of Planning. And to her left, we have Tay Harris, who is our long-range planner. And I'm going to turn it over to Tay to walk through the presentation and on the Master Plan of Town Centers, Chapters 1 and 2.
Hi, I'm Tay Harris. I'm the Long Range Planner. Today we are here to discuss with you Chapter 1, Town Centers, and Chapter 2, Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan, July 2025 draft. Both chapters include the 2024 December Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan update, including comments from departments, agencies, and the public received during the 90-day comment period from June 27th, 2025 to September 25th, 2005. Both chapters also include input from the Planning Commission. On July 16th, 2025, the Planning Commission determined that both chapters are consistent with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan as required in Title III of the Land Use Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. And today we are soliciting feedback from the draft chapters from you. Any fiscal impacts that are associated with the goals and objectives in the draft plan will be considered on a case-by-case basis. And multiple departments were involved in the updating of this plan. I think I'm pressing the wrong button. Okay. In February of 2025, the Planning Commission endorsed a new process to update the Town Center Master Plans. It's streamlined into a single consolidated document. Town Centers of Chapter 1 include and are applicable to all town centers in their master plan updates, and each subsequent chapter is specific to each town center and their master plan updates. Chapter 1 Town Centers includes a discussion on the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan and its 10 visions and its goals and objectives, and how they relate to town center master plans, as well as implementation measures, existing policies, functional plans, and partnerships with local committees and organizations, regional planning committees, as well as state and federal agencies. The information organized in the Chapter 1 is found in the subject matter listed on the right-hand side of the slide. In 2019, when the Planning Department started updating the Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan, development patterns looked very different than they do today. And at that time, the message in the draft plan was incentivizing growth. Since 2019, there has been residential development in the town center, and now the message in the draft plan is managing growth. The allowable residential density has been reduced from 14 units per acre to 4 units per acre, and the proposed subdistricts in the town center have been reduced from 5 to 3. There is also an emphasis on the intersection level of service and adequate public facilities standards for roads, because these standards help to manage growth while they accommodate growth. They also are aimed to allow for needed road improvements as growth is accommodated. So they may have impact on potential growth that's coming down the pipeline. On this slide, you will see two maps. The map on the left-hand side shows the previous subdistricts that were proposed, and these include the 5 subdistricts of suburban traditional. This subdistrict was intended to allow for low-density residential development. Then we had suburban village, which was intended to allow for medium residential development, including cottage-like townhouses, or cottage-like single-family dwellings, townhouses up to 3 stories, and apartment buildings. There was also the new town mixed-use redevelopment subdistrict, which was intended to allow for mixed-use development in the blue areas along MD24. There was also the Old Town Main Street area depicted in pink, and this was much supposed to look a lot like the suburban village, but higher density. And then lastly, there's the Forest District. This district is in the southwest corner of the town center, and it is depicted by the green dots. And this is supposed to bring heightened awareness to the fact that part of the Parkers Creek headwaters is located in the town center, and there are important ecological and natural resources there. The map on the right shows the current proposed subdistricts. We still have the traditional suburban subdistrict, which continues and will continue to advocate for or allow for low-density residential development, and that is depicted in purple on the map. Of this subdistrict, now there is the forest overlay. It has become an overlay instead of a district. Because the forest overlay, we still would like to keep the heightened awareness of the ecological resources in this area of the town center. However, we also need to be clear that the underlying zoning allows for low-density residential single-family development. Then we have the Old Town District that's in the pink. That area has been expanded to MD24 to the west, north of Commerce Lane to the north, to the town center boundary to the west, and then the southern boundary is bordered by Symphony Woods and Calvert Town residential subdivisions. This area has been expanded to allow for flexibility for when the county, which intends to pursue the state's Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development's Main Street designation. So this process would include a series of public information gathering meetings to develop a vision for whatever area is designated as Main Street. And then the area would, a master plan would be prepared to govern this vision, which would be approved by the BOCC. And if and when this does occur, then the Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan would be amended. So in the plan itself, we talk about the potential for Main Street as a sub-area in the Old Town District, although it's not depicted on the map today because it doesn't exist. And then lastly, we have the blue area, and that is the new commercial development and redevelopment area. And what's intended here is it really encompasses the existing commercial development outside of Old Town, but along MD24, and it is intended to allow for redevelopment of existing sites, infill development, and development of existing pad sites. Okay, on this map, you will see that there are new boundaries proposed for the town center. The red line indicates the existing town center boundaries, and The new areas to be included in the town center are indicated by the purple lines. To the north, it's proposed to include Calvert Health Campus. To the east side, those are employment center zoned parcels, and they are proposed to be included in the town center. This is consistent with both the comprehensive plan and the Calvert County zoning ordinance update. And then to the south, you'll see Calvert Town and Symphony Woods are proposed to be included in the town center as well. So highlights for the environmental and natural resources section. These maps on this slide highlight the fact that there is a focus on watershed planning and 2 indicators for ecosystem health in watersheds. Those include impervious surface and for tree canopy cover. The Prince Frederick Town Center, including its new boundary, lies within 3 sub-watersheds. They include Huntingtown, Parkers Creek, and North Battle Creek. In the town center itself, there is 29% impervious surface, but within the watersheds in which the town center lies, there is less than 10% in each watershed, and this is indicative of a healthy ecosystem. The tree canopy cover in the town center is a healthy 49%. This is rather high for a town center. And in the watersheds within which the town center lies, the range of forest or tree canopy cover that's recommended for healthy ecosystems is 40 to 60% or higher, and all 3 of these watersheds have tree canopy coverage that indicates a healthy ecosystem. Also in this section are a discussion of sensitive area lands. These lands include streams and their buffers, wetlands, steep slopes, as well as floodplains, and the state-managed lands targeted ecological areas and rare, threatened, and endangered species special project review areas. In addition, in the important bird area that lies within the Parkers Creek watershed portion that's in the town center and also outside the town center is discussed in this section. And there is also a hazard assessment for the town center in this section. In the heritage section, the highlights are as follows. There are 93 historical sites and 13 archaeological sites in the town center. As we all know, Prince Frederick has long stood as the government and commerce center for the county, starting in approximately 1725. In this section, there is also a focus on preserving and connecting to outlying cultural, natural, and resource areas, protecting scenic roads, and these include Stokely, Barstow, and Park Double Oak Roads, which are south of Dares Beach Road. And there is also a recommendation to establish a heritage marker trail, and this includes the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad rail bed that goes through the Prince Frederick Town Center, and that is also a focus area for the town center. In the housing section, the highlights include the following demographics. Most of the housing units in the town center are townhouses and single-family homes. The home ownership rate is 46%. The median home value is $383,000. The median monthly mortgage is $2,295, and the rental rates range from $900 a month up to $3,400 a month. 38% of the housing stock is assisted housing, and 46% of the households living in the town center can afford the housing units in the town center, which actually coincides with home ownership rate. Makes sense. Highlights for the economic vitality section include the major employers in the town center, and these include the public schools, Calvert County government, Calvert Health Medical Center, the Arc of Southern Maryland, Calvert County Health Department, And the target industries in the town center include healthcare, high-tech, commercial, and retail. And there is a high focus on small business traction and retention. We'd also like to note that Prince Frederick Town Center has the lowest commercial vacancy rate in Southern Maryland. In the transportation section, the highlights are as follows. The plan or the section advocates for Stateway Highway Administration to widen MD-24 from Fox Run Boulevard to Stokely Road. It maintains the planned loop roads improvements in the plan up north, and then also the remainder of Prince Frederick Boulevard, as well as the completion of the Fox Run segment loop road that is planned for this winter. It also emphasizes failing intersections as of July 2025 in the town center, and the APF requirements for roads. As of July 2025, the failing intersections are at Maryland 24 and Stokely Road, intersection of Maryland 24, Dares Beach Road, and Commerce Lane, and then the intersection of Church Street and Main Street at Church Street. The town center is served by 6 local bus routes and an MTA commuter service route, as well as online ridership resources. This section also recommends addressing sidewalk gaps along Dares Beach Road, Fox Run Boulevard, Atherton Drive, and Dares Beach Army Road roundabout. Lastly, this section recommends installing bike lanes along Main Street, Army Road, and Prince Frederick Boulevard. And lastly, we have the community and government facilities sections highlights. As I mentioned before, and as we all know, Prince Frederick is the county seat, so the government services and facilities in the town center are too numerous to list in one slide. So I just listed several of the facilities and then put up pictures, and you can see them listed on the right-hand side of the slide. I'm trying to move it forward. It's not moving forward. Okay.
It's stuck on 12.
That's the last one, isn't it?
There we
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Planning and Zoning is seeking permission to advertise for a public hearing for the draft chapters 1 and 2 of the master plan of the town centers.
Any questions?
I have a question. Home ownership in the town center is 46%, so that says 54% within the town center is rental. There are proposed several hundred more homes to be built in the town center. Will that keep home ownership at 46% and rental at 54%? Or do we see home ownership percentages rising within the town center?
So Commissioner, to answer your question, there's approximately 400 to 500 are dwelling units still in the pipeline. There's always a chance that not all of those will come to fruition, but that is in the pipeline at the moment. That is a mix of townhomes and there are some apartments, so I'm assuming those townhomes would be a fee simple ownership situation. So it will likely change, but I don't think it would be substantial of that change because many of those are townhomes.
Okay. Another question, with this the possibility of this putting approximately 1,000 more cars on the road, when was our last transportation study done? And I mean, in conjunction with putting in these town centers, have we done studies that is going to show a true transportation study and what the public is going to be facing? Because Prince Frederick is already a bottleneck with the possibility of 1,000 additional cars on the road. Are we up to date with our transportation study to answer the public's questions on this?
And Commissioner, as we were going through this process with the Planning Commission, that was a question they drilled down on, was transportation in general. And I know we worked with them on the language to make sure that it was highlighted that there are failing intersections in Prince Frederick. As far as the future studies, I'll defer to the Director of Public, DPW, that I believe is here, to answer those questions.
Good morning, Commissioner. J.R. Cosgrove, Director of Public Works. As far as future traffic studies, there's none currently planned for the county to perform a traffic study for the town center of Prince Frederick. However, with each new development, we do require traffic studies depending on the traffic count of what that community or development would generate. When we go through and look at the what we call traffic impact analysis form, on that form, it pretty much dictates what their use will be and calculated, I guess, based on previous studies, how much traffic will come from that development. And then when you put that in conjunction with our adequate public facility ordinance, that gives us information on whether we should require a full traffic study or not. Depending on the size of the community, most of them, as far as these large townhome communities and all, would require a full traffic study. We would sit down and then lay out which intersections and what locations need to be evaluated with that study. We also provide them some background data if we know of any new development that's coming in conjunction with them that they're not aware of. So they take all that into account when they do the studies for the development. But we don't currently have one proposed for the county to do itself for the entire town center.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, don't run. Don't run. You stepped up.
Yes, sir.
So just explain to us, and maybe Commissioner Cox is going to ask the same question. Dares Beach Road and Route 4 is already failing.
Yes, sir.
They're building new townhouses there right now. The shopping center's getting ready to open. What improvements are going to be made to that intersection to make it more?
So when you look at the study before and after those communities, and I guess we had to define what you mean by failing intersection. So the intersection as a whole.
That was my question. What's it
So the intersection as a whole does not qualify as a failing intersection. So it's a D or better. However, when you start looking at certain legs, whether it's a left turn onto Dares Beach or a right turn out, when you start looking at certain legs of it, there is, I think, one leg that does fail, and I can't remember which one is off the top of my head. So based on that, you could define it as a failing intersection. But that's not necessarily how it's always viewed when you start looking at the transportation side of it. You look at it as an intersection as a whole. And when they look at where it fails, it could be one leg failing either in the AM peak or the PM peak, which is between, I think it's 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evenings. So with the new developments coming out, they performed the traffic study, and their traffic study pretty much mimicked what it is prior to their usage. It's still a passing intersection as a whole. However, there's still that same leg that has concerns. There was no improvements required or proposed for those developments for that certain, I'd say, phasing of the signal. Because when you look at the traffic study, they divert their flows from different locations, so it doesn't necessarily have the ultimate impact per the study on that intersection. However, how traffic is actually functions in real life, it might have an effect on it, even though the study doesn't show it, because they're going to assume that a certain percentage is going to leave, let's say, out of the shopping center, out the new light there at and head north, when in actuality, they might come down to the Dares Beach light and head north.
The study benefits whoever pays for it is usually the rule. And so it's hard to say that when you add, as Commissioner Grasso said, 1,000 cars is not going to have an impact on an intersection. But all those transportation studies say there's no impact. And anybody with any amount of common sense knows there's going to be an impact. But those studies never call for an impact because the developers don't want to pay for improvements.
Very seldom do they call for an impact, you're correct.
Very seldom.
Very seldom.
So,
Because nothing's changed. We're getting ready at 1,000 cars and nothing's changed to that road, but we keep approving projects to keep moving forward.
There's been a few studies that have proposed improvements in locations, not necessarily in the town center, but outside of the town center. But it's very seldom.
So, a couple of these ones we're talking about didn't come into the pipeline until after the new APFO. So we have roadway improvements being made somewhat from Dares Beach through Calvert through Fox Run. And like you said, we have a new light, we have that shopping center, a new traffic study would be very, very interesting to see, because it's very hard for them to do a traffic study and take into account that other roadway that is gonna relieve some traffic on Dares Beach, from Dares Beach out to the Circle and then out to Route 4, or from Dares Beach through Armory.
Correct. When they do the study, they do a projection, more or less, and they project it from today's numbers into the future, and they also project how they think the traffic will leave the community. And most of the time, following what Commissioner Hans said, is they're gonna split the traffic to benefit them as best they can. You know, that's understandable if you think about it, but
So the first part of that question, Jason, this might be for you. So those communities that we're talking about are in the pipeline, are all of them prior to the new APFO?
I believe all of them are prior to the new APFO and prior to the new zoning ordinance. So they're all stuff that it takes years to develop these projects, and although we can make corrections now, making that apply to projects already in the pipeline is not possible.
Which in the new APFO, we did hold those intersections to a higher standard moving forward.
That's correct.
correct.
But we can't hold those to that same.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we've reduced density, so had the density been what it is now, you would not have seen the explosion of development. And I would venture to say that these homes, of which there's probably 900 to 1,000 plus that will end up being there, that was approved a couple of Board of County Commissioners ago. Am I correct?
That's correct. Those date all the way back, and Tamara probably has the
To
more.
2019, I
Well,
had heard.
2019 is when those started being developed.
Developed,
Now,
okay.
where they started in that pipeline is a years-long process, so you go back and
Even
a
before
decade
that.
or
Even
so.
before that.
So
Okay.
in 2015, I believe is when the number for TDRs required for townhouses and apartments were reduced.
Okay,
And so I think that's what spurred.
Started seeing a lot of the development.
okay, okay. So it's a little concerning. It's 46% ownership and 54% rental. That, boy, that doesn't bring in much for the county, does it? Oh, well. I just wanted to make it clear for the public that this precedes this board by at least a decade or more.
That's
Am I
correct.
correct in saying that? Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to add, though, that there is a concentration of assisted housing in the town center around Prince Frederick, because lower home ownership rate is because 38% of the housing stock is assisted housing in the town center. So that does contribute to why the home ownership rate is lower.
Okay, thank you.
So does that 38% include senior housing as well?
I don't believe any of this senior housing is assisted in the Prince Frederick Town Center, but I would have to double check on that, but.
Not yet. We have one in the
So
pipeline.
Calvert Pines 1 and 2 aren't part of that calculation?
Calvert Hills.
Calvert,
Calvert Pines 1 and
Calvert
2.
Hills.
or Calvert Hills.
Yeah, Pines?
Armory Road Development.
I don't think
Hills
they
is-
are.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they are.
You don't have to answer now, just get back to me on the
No.
Okay.
phone. Thank you.
So JR, I go back to your first bullet point that Jason put on here, that, Fox Run Boulevard to Stokely Road northbound. Traveling this road every day, I have never seen it back up northbound. The issue is southbound.
Correct, but
So-
the entire project, the state
Yeah,
highway has, it
correct.
encompasses all that to pretty much create the three
No,
lanes,
no, I-
north and south.
yes. No, I agree with that. Yep, correct. Okay.
And the last part of Prince Frederick Boulevard expansion to the south, isn't that designed to go through those wetlands?
So the current path that's been shown in our master plans does show it extending south towards, I think it's the Kenmore Old Main Street intersection, and there is some wetlands in that vicinity,
Some?
quite a few,
We all know that project is never gonna happen,
correct,
because it's a major swamp in the headlands to Parker's Creek.
yes.
So it's crazy to have a map and tell people you're gonna extend Prince Frederick Boulevard to relieve traffic when you know it can't happen.
Wasn't it two phases on that, JR?
There was, I believe it was shown as two phases, but
It was two different
Yeah, but
phases.
the full phase brings it out at Kenmore.
correct. It
So
would be
there's-
difficult to construct.
We should
for many
take that
reasons.
out. That's not gonna happen. And if you can bring it out just south of Company 4, that might work. But you can't go down where you're proposing to go. I don't know who
I thought you
designed
had it
that
down to
plan.
electric lines,
What's that?
down past electric lines, I thought, wasn't it? Does that
Still gotta cross the
Still
swamp.
got to
Yeah,
cross the
still.
swamp there.
Yeah.
So I have been told that SHA conducted, environmental assessment for all that, for all of the expansion or the loop roads in the town center that haven't been built yet. And there was a FONSI, a finding of no significant impact to environmental resources.
It's the same state highway that says Thomas Jefferson Bridge is perfectly safe too.
Noted.
And the same state highway that says our intersections are perfectly fine. We're the ones that say they're failing. State highway says they're all fine, and that bridge is great. Don't worry about that bridge. There's no issues with that bridge at Thomas Johnson. According to state highway that says we can build that loop road through the swamp. That maybe a future board might say it's okay, let's go, but
This one won't.
I can tell you right now, this one ain't. So, it's just, to me, it's just unfortunate and not fair to show a road that's never gonna be built and to say that's gonna ease the traffic. That's my thought process. Because I could say like a previous commissioner, we're gonna have flying cars, and why are we all worried about roads? Just buy a flying car and,
Just for clarification, you don't want us to put flying cars in the plan.
no.
No.
Because I just can't imagine what kind of nightmare that's gonna be. A bunch of flying cars.
So Jason, is the public hearing already scheduled for this?
We have not scheduled
No.
it. We're waiting for
Need a
this
motion.
meeting. We tentatively have it set for September 30th, but we're waiting on y'all's direction on that.
Everybody good?
No more questions. That means,
I move that we authorize staff to advertise a public hearing with any revisions we've discussed here be included for the public to consider.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So while you're here, you have another little project moving right now that we've heard a lot about. What's the progress update on that? 3 minor town centers. Oh, sorry, we
So-
don't have minor town centers anymore.
And we don't have the slide put up on the various chapters. But if you recall, there was a slide walking through the various chapters, including Prince Frederick, Dunkirk, and then next is Owings, Huntingtown, and St. Leonard. So right now, we're doing an informational gathering by asking for public input on Owings, Huntingtown, and St. Leonard. That survey closed yesterday. I will caution the public that that is literally like step 1A. That's not even step 1 in that entire process. Those mailers for those surveys were sent out to via a mass mailing, every box set up that the post office has. So everybody that was on the mail routes that had a box got one. There were several people at Homeland that did not get them. But I will say that if you didn't get it, there is plenty of opportunity, and you didn't have a chance to interject with the survey. And we actually had several hundred people that replied to each survey. If you didn't get a chance to interact with that survey, we're going to be hosting a set of town halls or informational sessions in October. We're confirming dates with that as we speak, and locations in each one of those town centers to get that public input. We'll be back in front of you all in September 9th, so in 2 weeks, to present what those surveys have seen so that we can receive guidance on what that conversation looks like. We'll also be going to the Planning Commission on the 17th of September to have a discussion on what that guidance needs to look like. And then think of it as a triangle. You get public input, you go to the Planning Commission, you go to the Board of County Commissioners, then you go back to public input. This is a 12 to 18 month process. So if you haven't gotten a chance, if the public hasn't gotten a chance to interact and let their feelings be known on this, this is step 1A of that process. So we are asking for that public input, that public feedback as we continue to develop those plans. And I may be optimistic in my 12 to 18 months because, as you saw, this plan started in 2019 and we're just now sitting here. So it's a months-long, if not longer, process.
And just for clarification, you are not proposing to take away town center zoning, you're just pitched that as a discussion point.
We pitched that as, that's correct, Commissioner, we pitched that as a discussion point. I know in previous, in the 2020 comprehensive plan, all town centers were effectively treated the same. They were all called town centers. Previously, there had been a major minor designation. We pitched the last question in that survey about rural commercial versus town center as a conversation piece because we need to hear what the citizens want and we need to get feedback on what to do. The last thing that this Department of Planning and Zoning wants to do is create a bunch of non-conforming uses. That is absolutely not, but we're simply asking the question if they think the town center designation as it sits today is appropriate or not, or if there needs to be go back to maybe a major and minor, but it's a little early in that conversation to have that level of conversation, but it's just opening up the question for general discussion.
So in what year did the major and minor go away?
It looks like they went away in 2020. There was lots of discussion in 2019, 2020 when that plan came out, and that was a planning commission recommendation at that time to do away with the major and minor designation. I know there have been previous discussions on calling maybe some of the minor ones some other designation such as village or hamlet. I think there were some concerns in looking back just through looking at the comprehensive plan process about those naming conventions of hamlet or village. So I don't know the reason that decision was made, but it was made in 2019, 2020 timeline.
So at that time, since I was here, the discussion was that all town centers are the same. There shouldn't be a designation, and two of us argued that there is a difference between, because the people in Huntingtown have argued, in my tenure repeatedly, they don't want to see Huntingtown expanded at all.
Right.
And Owings has always been pretty quiet about keeping. Well, our concern was once you call them all town centers, they're all sort of under the same umbrella, and it impugns that they may grow to Prince Frederick. And the citizens, I think that's why Planning and Zoning pitched that question.
Correct.
In the survey was, what do you want to be? We're not trying to force anything down your throat. What do you want to be? And I think the people of Huntingtown have shown over time that they want to stay what they are right now. And so I argued against changing those town centers. I thought minor was an important designation because it did sort of categorize what the future was for those little towns. But if those towns want to become much more than they are today, that's the discussion we're having right now.
Where each one of them is unique in its own way.
Exactly.
And that's what the survey was meant for, to help us to start those discussions, to know where to start planning when we do get to the town halls as to what our topics will be.
And let me add, we have to remember what the intent of the town center is, and do all these areas fit that definition?
And maybe they don't want to be town centers, or maybe they do.
Right, exactly.
But this is just part of the process. We're just trying to get the word out there, because some people got very excited when that survey went out.
And town halls for each.
And town halls for each.
And yes, informational
Okay,
sessions.
yes. Yes.
But for each in those town centers.
Yes, sir.
That is the plan. And we did have good feedback according to CMR. We had excellent responses we just literally got the data right before we came over here. We had hundreds of responses to each one. So we had very good feedback, and we're going to spend the next few days digesting that, and then we'll present that information to you all on the 9th.
When we did start to fool with the major and the minor designation, there was really a tremendous public outcry, and come hell or high water, they were all going to be major. And all we're trying to do now is to be transparent, is to listen to the public, to have their input as to what they want. We're not trying to change anything. We work for the public. What do you want? So I want the public to hear that, because they weren't heard back in the day when they were dealing with major and minor.
That's correct.
So we thank you for the update.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you can have one.
Hey, so one more, the town halls, once you don't have to sit down, the town halls, once we get the dates out on them, how will the public be able to see those dates, Jason? Where's it gonna be advertised?
So we're actually in the process of working on banners that will be in each town center as
each
well,
district, okay.
with those dates on there, so people can see them as they're driving in and out. But we'll put it out on social media, we'll put it out on the website. We'll announce it here on the 9th at the Planning Commission on the 17th. We'll get that word out in every way we can.
Okay,
Thank
just
you.
making sure it gets out there.
Yeah, and we'll let Marnie know that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I think we're at public comment.
Yes, sir. To maintain decorum, the board adheres to established procedural rules first adopted in 1989 that are applied in a viewpoint-neutral way only to genuinely disruptive or threatening behavior. As an invited speaker addressing topics pertaining to the county government, please observe the following guidelines. All remarks and conduct must be respectful and refrain from personal attacks, inflammatory language, or disruptive behavior. Prior to commencing your remarks, please state your name and for the record. Individual speakers are allocated 2 minutes. Designated representatives speaking on behalf of an organization or a group are allocated 5. Individuals seeking to influence government decisions are categorized as lobbyists and are asked to register in advance with the Ethics Commission. Is there anybody in the room?
He doesn't want to hold your lunch up.
And there is no one online.
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow night, Ag Preservation Rules and Information Update. If you have any questions or concerns about it, please come out and visit them tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. School's back in session, so everybody slow down, please. Labor Day weekend's coming up, so have a happy and safe Labor Day weekend, and happy anniversary to my wife.
Commissioner Cox, that meeting is Thursday night.
Thursday, yeah. Oh,
Thursday.
shucks. I was thinking, yeah. I'm sorry, it's Thursday night. I'm sorry. Thank you.
We don't want showing up the wrong
No, I
night.
got to get out of here. Yeah. I got to go buy a gift.
You better.
Yeah, yeah.
How many years?
37.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. Commissioner Arnold? No, Commissioner Grasso.
Okay. On the 21st, I attended Chesapeake Beach's town hall meeting, or town council meeting, I'm sorry. And I have been meeting with our delegation over the past month or so. And this past week, I was able to meet with Delegate Long. I have one more in the delegation to meet with. On the 25th, which was yesterday, I attended a ribbon cutting for Bark and Bath. I am telling you, this place is definitely a puppy spa. You walk in there, it is aesthetically, it is so impressive. The lady Colleen who owns it, she is in her early 30s. She has 2 young children. I listened to her talk about the different seminars she goes to and she sends staff to. If you take your pet there, they will be in great hands. I was very impressed. Back to school, as Commissioner Cox said, wishing everyone a safe and a fruitful year, teachers as well as students. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. And also, this morning, I think one of, aside from the town centers, which are very, very important, we spoke with Pastor Dana Jones, who is the chair, and Leslie Urban, who is the vice chair of the Student Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee. They're doing great work. If meetings come up and as parents, if you can attend it, you will find it to be valuable. I also want to thank Emily Shreves, Aaron Lowe, and Jennifer Moreland for their input, and I'm sure there were many others who came to make this wheel turn on this advisory committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Arnold?
So, real estate taxes, if you guys have heard, have been an issue this year. They're going into mail this week. There've been software issues, vendor issues, as well as personnel issues. We apologize for delay as our new employees work to correct this deficiency. Our new treasurer is also working with finance and budget to fix this issue. We're actually pretty disgusted, I believe, as a board and embarrassed that this has happened to this point. We apologize for it. Like I said, we talked to our county attorney. John, you said it was state law that they have to be collected by September 30th. You can't do an extension.
That's correct.
So we looked into trying to get it extended because of the late bills coming out, but that cannot happen, unfortunately. 80 acts of service to commemorate the 80th anniversary celebration for Cedar Point Federal Credit Union, which we celebrated yesterday with a ribbon cutting ceremony. It was a joint effort with Economic Development and Calvert County Chamber of Commerce. The board president from Cedar Point gave a brief analogy comparing then to now and 80 years ago when they opened in St. Mary's at their first branch, and the numbers were pretty astounding of what the dollar was then and what it is now, 80 years later. We continue to work with library staff and the board at the library to make positive changes to try to change the environment of the library. Progress is being made to build a county transportation bus shelter for the Solomons route. We're working with DPW and transportation to get that done. Also, Parks and Rec, DPW, the Sheriff's Office are working with Solomon's boat ramp contractor to make some necessary changes to improve the environment in that area. Special thanks to staff and the Sheriff's Office working together to get that done. Thoughts and prayers go out to the Mayer family for the loss of John. He was a member of the Solomon's Charter Boat community. As Commissioner Cox and Commissioner Grasso mentioned, today is the first day of school. Please be attentive when driving. Look for those school buses to be stopped. And when you come around
Community Church here in Prince Rudolph for Wesley York. Wesley was a little unique. Wesley was 14 years old.
Wow.
And Eagle Scout, if you're not familiar, you have to get your Eagles by 18. And I can tell you, over the last 7 years, I've attended more of them where those kids were fighting to meet the 18-year-old deadline. To have someone 14, that's quite an accomplishment for a young man. And today is his first day of school at Huntingtown. We wish him all the best. He was a little concerned about being a high schooler now. I did speak to the scout leader there, and he said he had done one for a 12-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty impressive. If you know anything about what you have to do to be an Eagle Scout to attain that at such a young age, I told him I didn't know what he had left to do, except there is an election coming up, and maybe we could forge his birth certificate, and he could sit in this chair on Tuesday, because he's going to be a very, very productive citizen when he becomes of age. So I want to congratulate Wesley and his family, his parents, for the fine job they did getting that accomplished. Just another reminder, school started today. Watch out for those buses today when you're traveling about in the next week or so, because the schedules are fluctuating, because, you know, it is the beginning, and so you're not quite sure when they're coming. That's going to change, but as always, it'll get settled in. I want to wish all the students and teachers a very successful year. And the Ag Preservation meeting is Thursday night at the Harriet Brown Center at 7 o'clock, so don't show up tonight.
There's a Drive Sober Saturation and Educational campaign now through Labor Day. I just received a text, someone asked me to mention it, which is important. Sheriff's also been doing sobriety checkpoints as well as saturation patrols, trying to educate the public on the dangers of drinking and driving, so we need to keep that in mind as well.
Just don't drink, and you don't have to worry about checkpoints.
Amen.
So I hope everybody has a very safe and happy Labor Day holiday, and with that,
I move to recess to executive session pursuant to General Provisions Article Section 3-305B1I to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom the board has jurisdiction.
Second.
I have a motion and second, then we go into exec session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all, and you have a great day.